If this were a Reese's TV ad, you'd be staring at a Reese's peanut butter cup. And sure, my voice is peanut buttery smooth, but still, you need to see the peanut butter cups, right? No? I can really just say Reese's and you'll go get some? Okay, Reese's. 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 Really working, actually. Reese's. Reese's. I'm on to something. Reese's. Reese's. Reese's.
Are negative Google reviews hurting your business? Don't let unfair feedback cost you customers. At Webamax, we specialize in removing false, misleading, and damaging reviews so your online reputation stays strong. Our expert team works quickly and legally to clean up your digital presence, helping you rebuild trust. Visit us on the web at www.gowebamax.com. That's GOWEBIMAX.com, or text us for a free quote at 856-840-8343. Don't let bad reviews define you. Get immediate help from Webamax.
Welcome back to Rams Up, your favorite LA Rams podcast. We are part of the Fans First Sports Network. You can follow us on our YouTube channel as well at LA Rams Up. I'm your host, Mark. I'll be joined occasionally by my football gurus, Paul and Ian. Let's get to it.
Well, Rams Nation, good to see you again. I'm Ian, that's Mark. Welcome to our live edition of this Rams Up Roundtable. We'll talk about the 2024 season in full detail next here on the Rams Up Podcast Network. Oh, Rams Nation, it has been some time since we've gotten together. A lot has happened and a lot to reflect on. Gosh, what a crazy season it was this past 2024 campaign. But again, I'm Ian. That's Mark. Mark, how you doing today, dude?
Hey, pretty good. It's been a little while. We took some time off. Been just kind of sitting back and looking back at this entire season. And I think that's what the show is going to be partly about. What could have been, but also, a lot to be happy about if you're a Ram fan, I think.
Yeah, I definitely think so as well. And it's watching that last Super Bowl, I will say, was kind of irritating just because, gosh dang it, I feel like the Rams could have been in that and could have maybe won a world championship. But that's in an alternate timeline. So be it. And we'll discuss how that 2024 campaign unfolded. So again, everyone, welcome to our live stream episode here, a season recap, as we're going to go through all the nitty-gritty of this past 2024 campaign, like I said. And I think it's important to start out with just how the hell did the draft unfold, as we had a first-round draft pick. We didn't know what that would look like with Aaron Donald retiring, and do they go quarterback? Do they go receiver after all this, talk and hype of the tight end, the wide receivers, just some offensive weapon, as McVay has been known to just say, let's spend high capital on offensive players. No shock. But I think looking back at how this unfolded, I think we all have to be incredibly happy with not only the draft picks, but even the quote unquote unofficial college free agency that is the post-draft scramble that everyone has to get into. So Jared Verse, Braden Fisk, Blake Corum, Cameron Kitchens, Brennan Jackson, Tyler Davis, Joshua Carty, Jordan Whittington, Bo Limmer, KT Livingston. And then how can we not bring up Jalen McCullough, Omar Spates as a part of this, this rookie class as well. But holy crap. What a freaking awesome group. Another Snead masterclass for this group right here. But you know what? I want to get your overall grade here, Mark, on what you think this draft class and even the undrafted free agents that eventually joined the Rams and, played some meaningful football. What is your grade on this group?
Well, it's got to be an A, and I'm going to say, let's give it an I want to give it an A plus, but you really need to nail every pick for an A plus, right? And I'd give it an A minus, and the only reason I'd give it a minus is we need a little bit more time to see what happens with Blake Corum and Brennan Jackson. Other than that, KT Leviston, 7th-round pick. How hard are you going to grade yourself for a 7th-round pick that hasn't set foot on the field yet? But man, Furst, Fisk, Kinchins, Tyler Davis, we tend to forget about him. Jordan Whittington, Joshua Carty, Bo Limmer, all significant contributors. So absolutely.
Yeah, that's a good one. And Rams Nation, what is my grade? Definitely an A. It's got to be an A. Jared Verse, Defensive Rookie of the Year. Braden Fisk, a finalist as well. Blake Corum, who I like the draft pick, obviously didn't get a lot of opportunity, but I feel like every time he got opportunities, he played pretty good, in my opinion. Is the pass blocking there yet? Probably not. I don't think so based on film, but he wasn't putting a lot of those opportunities anyway. They were like, you're going to run the damn football. And he looked good to me. Now, is it this world-breaking, Jahmyr Gibbs, Saquon Barkley, Derrick Henry level running back in terms of speed and burst? No. But it felt like a lot of times he was breaking tackles, having massive cutbacks that were leading to 30-plus yard gains. A lot of them were, holding penalties on somebody who didn't need to yank on the defender, so they got called back. But a lot of his runs I was very impressed with, and it's unfortunate that he broke his arm, in that Week 18 game. But I like that pick. Cameron Kitchens, who I just did not like his play at all at the beginning of the season. At all. He totally flipped the script on his young path. Do you remember, Rams Nation? Anyone who tuned into our roundtables or any of the film breakdowns, he had absolutely abysmal moments weeks 1, 2, 3, and 4. Sincerely, bad coverage, bad angles on tackling. I mean, he looked bad. And then for him to be a game-changing player like he was on defense playing safety, that whole second half of the season, more late half, right? Those final 6 games or so. Wow. And then for him to be a reliable player, what a turnaround that has been for him. Brennan Jackson, haven't seen a lot of him. I know he was injured and banged up. Hopefully we see more. Tyler Davis, we've seen him get a good amount of snaps. Hope to see him improve. Cool. And then Joshua Carty, same thing with Cameron. You're just like, uh-oh, this is not turning out good. But then eventually he was very reliable and ended up being a pretty dang good kicker. Jordan Whittington out of nowhere. I was banging the table, and me and Paul and others, of like, hey, he needs to start, and he needs more playing time. So that looks like a promising draft pick. Bo Limmer was a better center than Steve Avila and Jonah Jackson this season. Wow. And then KT Levinson, obviously rotational guy. So them, along with, yet again, we'll flash them, Jalen McCullough and Omar Spates being starters, or, Jalen obviously being the dime safety coming in when we do 6 DBs on the field. Phenomenal. It's got to be an A, as that rookie class propelled this team to get into the playoff tournament and even gave this chance to have any type of winning season at all when things were going awry. And a lot of them are big reasons why we won any games at all, really. I'm just thinking about it in my head, a little cloud bubble of like, wow, all the moments from all of them where they balled out. So definitely an A grade from me. And gosh, Rams Nation, we're lucky that, the McSnead combo has been doing a hell of a job in the draft these last handful of years, because thinking about all those St. Louis eras where the draft classes sucked and ruined the franchise for about 10, 15 years, that has not been the case since truthfully, since Les Snead has been our GM. He's had a lot of good draft class. Obviously, not everything is going to be, 100% hit rate, but he's drafted a lot of offensive rookie, defensive rookie of the year players, along with good draft classes that have propelled this team to winning seasons. So you should be happy. Hopefully your grades out there, Rams Nation, will be an A as well. But I think moving on, after the draft, okay, training camp, shebang. Let's start to get to some freaking games here. As we approach the season, Ernest Jones gets traded. Everyone's like, what the hell happened with that? There's a contract disputes with Matthew Stafford that, was hush-hush up until the last moment when everyone was freaking out the first day of training camp. But eventually, after all the chaos, after all the injuries and suspensions, we get till week 1. And I think it's important here, Rams Nation. We'll break this down, I think, by quadrants of 4, month by month. So we'll do the first 4 games, and then the next 4, and the next 4, and the next 4. And I think that's really telling with the season being so long and everything just being so drastically different every month of football, it felt like. So I'll start with weeks 1, 2, 3, and 4. Lions loss, Cardinals blowout loss, 49ers win, comeback win, and then the Bears disappointing loss out there in Chicago. So I'll start with you, Mark. What is your grade for that first month of the season and your thoughts overall on those first 4 weeks and where we're at and what were you thinking then?
Hey, before I'll be happy to do that. Before we do that, I got someone in the chat, Michael, asking, where's Paul? And maybe now would be a good time to dive into that. And it's kind of sucks. Got a little bit of bad news. Paul Walia has some higher priorities these days, and he's told us that he's not going to be able to be joining us for a while. Kind of a bummer, but yeah, Michael's chatting that he wants to see more of Paul's draft content. And hey, we're going to try to pick up the slack. We're going to have some other folks on to discuss draft prospects. We'll try to get some really good content similar to what Paul provided. We're going to keep the Paul's Puka Power Picks. I don't think Paul's going to have a problem with that, and we'll get him back eventually. And by the way, feel free to chat away here, ask us questions, give us your grades and all that as we go. But okay, sorry, Ian, back to your question. What was your question? How do I feel about those first 4 games? I just had this sinking feeling watching those games. It's kind of strange where, there's Ram games where sometimes the first 2 or 3 minutes, I just go, ugh, this is not going to go good. And that Bears game was one of them. And just was really weird. But, if you go back to that 49ers game, that comeback and that win, we had a couple of them this year, but what a big win that turned out to be. But yeah, it was a strange start. The Lions game could have easily won that. Then we get stomped by the Cardinals. We steal a win against the 49ers, and then we lay a dud against the Bears. So yeah, it was not a good start, not a fun start, but beating the 49ers, if you're going to go, if you're going to start like that, if you get your 1 win against the 49ers, that's pretty cool.
Not bad. So what's the grade you give that for that first 4?
Well, geez, I gotta give it a D. Well, we go to Detroit and play a team that was in the NFC Championship game the prior year. Play them on the opening Sunday, was it?
It was Sunday night, yeah.
Yeah, and we lose a really close game. So, I think I'd give the Lions and 49ers games, I'd probably give us like a B+. But the Bears and Cardinals, it's a D-. So split the difference, let's say a C,
Fair. That's a fair one. So Mark's grade there is a C for that first 4 games of the season. I think for me, Rams Nation, let's just go quickly game by game. We have Alaric Jackson suspended for some unknown reason we still don't know to this day, right? Not good. Rob Havenstein wasn't able to play due to an ankle injury that he'd been, nursing for a while. Then he had Steve Avila go down in the first half of that game. Puka Nacua re-injures his knee. And then it's like, oh my God, is this really happening? So that was a bummer to lose. And obviously the pressure by, the D-line of the Lions going up against 3rd string, 4th string tackles led to, Stafford being harassed a ton. And the game plan wasn't terrible, the quick passes and yada, yada, yada. But that was a bummer to lose in overtime when our defense just got bulldozed by Montgomery that whole last drive of the game. Then we're like, okay, hey, bounce back against Arizona. It was a disaster. Nothing went right. More backup tackles just performed like crap. Defense got annihilated. Braden Fisk, the rookies, Jared Verse, the whole defense couldn't tackle to save their lives. Couldn't stop Marvin Harrison, who still, that was his best game as a professional up until this point, which is crazy. It was bad. Kyler Murray's best day as a professional. A lot of career stuff happened. Bad. Then we're like, 49ers are coming. This is bad. Because we're playing that bad against Arizona. Everyone thought, holy crap, how are we going to win this game? And hey, man, Tutu Atwell, Matthew Stafford, the young defense, Kyron, everyone stepped up and played well, and they got a big victory. I was so pumped. After that bomb to Tutu Atwell, I was like, hell yeah, that was dope. Got that. Fantastic. And then the Bears game, where I know a lot of people felt confident, but like we had pointed out earlier in the year, the Rams had not won a game out there since, what was it, 2003? It had been a long, long time since they had done it. So I didn't feel good, and they didn't play well. They did not play well. Defensively, they had some bad moments by the rookies again. There was some bad play calling I just did not like by Sean McVay at all in that game. That led to us not getting any points, really. Some bad red zone play calling I didn't like. And then, hey, took an L, Caleb Williams and them. That was probably one of their few games they looked competent, and we dropped that. So, I mean, at that point, the Niners game was big to keep the season alive, but I give that first 4 games easily a D. Probably could deserve an F, just the way how the Bears game unfolded, the Cardinals game, and how the Lions end of overtime finished. So I give it a D, but wasn't good, and I wasn't feeling good going into the, next part of the season there. But speaking of that next part, Packers, Raiders, Vikings, and Seahawks. A lot of things drastically changed in that next group of
starting to realize what a strange season this was, huh?
Yeah, incredible. So I'll start with that, Mark. Those next 4 games, what grade do you give it? Your thoughts overall, game by game or overall? Again, Packers, Raiders, Thursday night Vikings for the nation to see, and then Seahawks.
Well, let's see, the Green Bay game, we had a costly fumble by Kyron, if I remember correctly, but we also had a really cheap pick 6 for a touchdown. We had some things go our way in that game. That was one of those games that I did not have a good feeling about. I think the Raiders game was a solid win. And then the Vikings, that was, it's kind of the flip side of the games where we go play the Packers and just have this bad feeling about it. And then the Vikings come to town, and I had a good feeling about that game. I really did. And then that Seahawks game, talk about a bizarre game. Puka gets thrown out, right? And the Seahawks are really taking care of business. And then, we just kind of erupt for a bunch of points late in the game, and then that incredible Demarcus Robinson catch. So we're actually pretty fortunate to win that game. We really were. But those 4 games, I mean, we went 3-1. A little bit of a dud against the Packers. I got to give us a B+ there for those 4 games. 2 big wins against the Vikings and Seahawks. That the Vikings, we took care of business. The Seahawks, very easily could have lost that game. There's 2 games, the 49ers and the Seahawks. We could very easily have lost those. And the Vikings game, I'm just so tired of people saying that, that non-call in the face mask, was the deciding play in that game. It was still going to be quite a task for the Vikings to push that game into overtime. So, yeah, that's a B+, sure.
Yeah, B+ is a good grade, and I have a B on mine. So that Packers game, gosh, defense played really good, but another game where I just hated McVay's play calling. Hated it. Too much pass, too simple. Took an L, even though the defense played good, but it was just another abysmal offensive performance. Didn't like it for multiple reasons. Kyron fumble, like you pointed out, not good. Then we move on to that Raider game where it was another abysmal offensive performance, if we're just being honest. Yeah, they got some touchdowns late, but yeah, the Raiders defense, they weren't sorry, but that offense was pretty bad. And for this thing to just be a back and forth, snooze fest, despite Cooper Kupp and Puka Nacua being out, I realize that Rams Nation, they had missed all those games pretty much from the beginning of, that week 2 matchup up until that point. Still, Jordan Whittington, Tutu Atwell, Demarcus Robinson are more than good enough for that team to get yardage, score points, in my opinion. But whenever play calling was whack, we got it done. All right, some big stops by Quinn Lake on Bowers, some late game heroics, a lot of interceptions. It saved the day. Defense saved the day. Then we go to that Thursday night game, Rams Nation, where I was at, where all the trade talk was Cooper Kupp is gone. Rams are listening to calls. It's serious. Chiefs are in, right? A lot of the Chiefs hype are like, they need a receiver. Chiefs are going to give up a high draft pick. And other teams that eventually didn't get mentioned, but Chiefs were the one that were, maybe at that leaked. And everyone was like, oh my God. And then, hey, Puka Nakua's going to play right as an hour before kickoff. And I'm there and I'm getting the news. I'm kind of conversating with fellow fans in the stadium, around me. And it's like, holy crap. Well, at least now we're in a better spot today than we were in previous weeks because Vikings had not lost the game at that point. And what happened? It was an absolute just freaking awesome Matthew Stafford. Let's chuck the ball around day to Nakua, to Kupp, to Demarcus Robinson. And it was like, okay, we're back, right? This is what we've been missing. I was just being irrational with my McVay play calling hate. Oh, they just needed number 10, number 17, and everyone just be back in the lineup and everything's going to be all right. And then, defense had some big stops. They had a good scheme against Sam Darnold in the run game. And we're like, wow, the nation all saw that, hey, the Rams aren't toast. We're back. Fantastic game. That was awesome to see live. And then the next week, another weird offensive game, or really just not good, where we're like, what is going on, man? Geno Smith is throwing the ball. Jackson Smith and Jigba is unstoppable for the most part. And then defense saves our ass again with multiple interceptions as Geno Smith and the Seahawks offense are knocking on the door. Cameron Kitchens has his breakout game, has that 4-yard pick six, had another pick where he dove for it at the, in the red zone. Matthew Stafford had the game-winning, launch into the end zone to Demarcus Robinson to seal it. I mean, holy crap, that game had me growing gray hairs. Every snap it felt like. And then we get a win on that. So because of the offensive woes against inferior teams, I give it a B. Could you argue it's an A just for how clutch it was in some of these big games? Sure, but that's all I end up with, a B there. All for everything that was said there. Crazy, dude. Crazy. But we move on to the next four. Dolphins, Patriots, Eagles, and Saints. As that was a wild time, right, Mark? So your thoughts, your letter grade on, again, Dolphins primetime, Patriots, Eagles primetime, and then the Saints.
Okay, so I'm sorry, I'm distracted by some questions. Peo Time just asked me a funny question that actually applies. He's asking me if your girlfriend asks you to go to a wedding on a +1 as a +1, but it's on day 2 of the NFL draft, do you go? Asking for a friend. And funny you should ask, Peo, because I actually got invited to a wedding on the Sunday afternoon that the Rams played the Packers. And it was the first game I missed, although I was able to follow it on my phone in I don't know how many years. So I think the answer to your question is probably, but hopefully eventually the girlfriend will learn your ways. And it probably depends on how, if you're in that early stages of a relationship, you're probably going to have to bite it and go. But in year 3 or 4 of your marriage, your wife has figured it out. Don't even ask. That's my answer. But that's a tough one. And we'll get to your Jordan Whittington question here in a little bit. That's a good question. But okay, Ian. So you're asking about the Dolphins, Patriots, Eagles, and Saints games.
Yes, and I think real quick, I'll answer that Jordan Whittington since I kind of alluded to that a ton over the last group of games. Absolutely. I think his yards after catch, his blocking's fantastic. I think definitely, just it's a no-brainer that he has to play a ton this next season. I slammed the round table and my virtual table every week for feels like the whole second half of the season that Jordan Whittington needed to play more snaps than Cooper Kupp. This is before all the trade rumors. I just thought it was obvious. It was obvious that he was a more explosive player. And, you can say, hey, if he was that much better, why didn't he get more playing time? Well, the Rams are very loyal during the season to players if they're there. But, hey, Cooper Kupp was not deployed a ton in that Minnesota Vikings game when they went 12 personnel, right? 2 wide receivers, 2 tight end looks. Jordan Whittington got more snaps than him. Demarcus Robinson got more snaps than him. And then I know the playoff game, the snow game was a little wild, but there's just no question about it. What I've seen from him, he should be a starting receiver for us next year, or at least be in the discussion seriously among the coaching staff. I think he deserves it. We'll see what happens. We can say that about a lot of players. Deserve a chance, but I think based on what I've saw or I've seen from him, he definitely needs it, Bale. So we'll see what happens. Hopefully he can, not be banged up, as I know that was a big thing with his time at Texas, which is why he probably fell and didn't get as much opportunity as his fellow Texas teammates that were drafted above him. But I hope we see a lot more of him. Jet sweeps, blocking, quick slants, yards after catch. He obviously can go deep. I mean, I know our friend Jake Ellenbogen has fantastic stats, and I know Blaine Grissack has put a lot of stats. Like his yards of separation on routes and explosion plays is really, really excellent among all starting receivers. So that, and based on what I've seen on film and everything I just described, he needs it. He needs it definitely. So good question there, but we'll see what happens. And I do think he is a better player right now than Van Jefferson or Josh Reynolds or any other the third receivers you can think of. But Jay Witt, we need more of him. But go ahead, Mark. So again, Dolphins, Patriots, Eagles, Saints, you're great on that. And then your just assessment overall of that crazy stretch.
Well, it wasn't overall a very good stretch. I mean, the Patriots are a team that we should have beat even more handily, I think. The Dolphins was another dud. The Eagles, Barkley just going off on us. And then the Saints, if I remember correctly, our first half, our offense was just putrid. And then we put some points on the board in the second half. My son was in New Orleans for that game, and I felt bad for him watching but the second half was pretty electric, if I remember correctly, and a really good game. So I don't know. I guess I'd give it a C, 2-2. I don't think there's really anything to get overly excited about here. Beating the Patriots and the Saints, those are two teams you're supposed to beat. And we did, and neither of them, I don't think those are the types of games where we need to just put teams away and destroy them and win 30-3. And both games were a little bit of a struggle.
Yeah, it's good. Mark's great to see there, Rams Nation. And for me, I was pulling my hair out. Feels like a ton during that stretch. I'm giving it, because I had high expectations with the team being a lot healthier and all that. I'm giving them a D for that stretch. Why? Because in front of the whole nation, they wet the bed so severely bad against Calais Campbell. You let him kick your ass the entire game. And I get it. Rob Havenstein did not play that game. But I just thought the game plan overall wasn't that good. Again, offensive, diversity was lacking. And then, the defense did enough. But it was just another, a McVay special, I like to call it, where there's just some games every year, Rams Nation, is either 2, 3, or 4 of them, hopefully no more than that, where the game plan doesn't make sense. It was like, hey, Dolphins are a top 5 pass defense. Why are we trying to throw it all over them a ton? Why are we barely running it? And that ended up being the case, and we lost. Shocker. So that happened, wasn't happy about that. And then we saw the offensive fireworks go off against the Patriots defense, who from that game forward started to slowly decline. But the previous weeks, I thought they had some really good moments on the Patriots defense, led by, their former coach, Gerard Mayo. Puka Nacua had that crazy catch. Cooper Kupp had some big touchdowns. Defense had some clutch moments, and they almost screwed that up at the end. Luckily, Cameron Kitchens again had a nice interception to seal it. So we were, woo, one in New England, hadn't done that in a while. And then I was there at that Eagles-Rams game on Sunday Night Football. Had a fantastic time tailgating with friends all day. Ran into Jason Hall, future Hall of Famer Kelsey, as he was doing some media stuff for his show, and I think his ESPN and NFL other gigs. That was cool. Great day. Was excited. I was like, hey, man, I think it'll be a competitive game. Well, it was for a little while, and then Saquon Barkley absolutely ruined my night. And then it was just bad from there on out. Kyron had another fumble. Bad from literally the second half onward. And that was a wake-up call to say, okay, are we actually legit like we think we are? Maybe not. And that was no bueno, going home with buddies after that ass whooping. And then the Saints game, another nail biter where offense was putrid again. It just wasn't, just the game plan was meh, right? The execution wasn't great. And again, I know the Saints have some good players on defense, but I just thought attacking their strengths wasn't the smartest idea. And it was a nail biter. Luckily, Puka finally got some touchdowns in there. And Stafford started to distribute the ball. Luckily, there was, some defensive coverage breakdowns by the Saints, and we got some time in there to, get big yardage. I think of that big, over crossing route to Demarcus Robinson. And then obviously, defense did enough in certain moments. And then, Jared Verse saved our ass at the end of the game, if you remember, getting the pressure on Derek Carr, which, the Saints were a very depleted team on offense. Some of their best wide receivers, their top two, some of their other great pass catchers weren't playing. I mean, we lose that game if Chris Olave and Rashid Shaheed are playing. We would have been screwed the way we had showed up in that game. But we made it. Wasn't pretty. We got the win. But in that whole stretch overall, just a lot of stuff to be concerned about, which is why I give it a D. I expected more with a healthier group. But, I was glad to get at least those couple W's, Mark.
Yeah, it was a strange stretch there. Again, two teams that we're supposed to beat, we beat them. Two teams that we thought might be challenging and kind of got drubbed by both of them. And by the way, I wanted to point out, those of you in the chat, if you don't know who Peo Time is, he's got a really cool Rams channel as well. So check him out. Peo Time, the Canadian Ram fan, good stuff. Yeah, so I understand your D. The only reason I go with a C is, two teams that, maybe it's understandable we'd lose to them. We go 2-2. We just there's nothing during this stretch that was really impressive. Nothing that gave us a warm fuzzy that this is a team that was going to make a playoff run, a serious playoff run, and a deep playoff run at this point. But then things started to happen after that.
Yeah. Things started to turn around. We move on to the Buffalo Bills game, the Thursday night San Francisco 49ers rain game, the cold-ass game up in New York or New Jersey where everyone was freezing cold. It was the coldest game of the McVay era by far, according to all the temperature records that were going on, in Rams history, supposedly. And then you have the Cardinals game, and then we'll lump in that Seahawks as well. We'll just go 1, 2, 3, 4. We'll lump in the last 5 there, if that makes sense, everyone. So, gosh, I'll start with you, Mark. Your thoughts, your grade, and just another wild, wild run of games there.
Yeah, the Rams have a habit in the McVay era of having these just crazy games that super entertaining. You think the Rams Vikings and whatever year that was, same year as the Rams Chiefs, right? The greatest regular season game ever played. And then this one, which might have been the most entertaining game of the year, the most entertaining regular season game, and they pull off the win. Man, that game was just like crazy. And then you beat the 49ers. That was the rainy game, right, where Brock Purdy didn't look so great. Rams defense stepped up. And then the Jets. And, we are a much better team than the Jets, but you're playing on the East Coast in cold weather. A win's a win. And then the Cardinals, another game, we were very fortunate, that interception at the end. There's 3 games this year that we really stole wins, but that's what good teams do, right? And then the Seahawks game is kind of a throwaway game. But if you're asking for a grade, I got to give it an A. You beat the Bills and 49ers. You go on the road in the cold weather, you get a win. And then you beat the Cardinals. Got a little lucky in that one, but I still give them an A. And the Seahawks game, considering who we had out there, not a bad showing at all.
No, not a bad showing. And I got to give it an A too. Why? Because what was on the line from that Bills game going forward? This team was not in a playoff position. There was a lot of things that had to go right from that moment on. As we had said earlier, they have to get a upset victory over the Eagles or the Bills. And we all thought the Eagles was more likely, the way Jalen Hurts had kind of gone from hot and cold that whole year. And they blew that game bad. They got whooped. So we said, okay, well, if they have to do it, it's got to be against the Bills. And they had, one of the best offensive games for the entire NFL season, no matter which team it was. It was fantastic. I mean, Matthew Stafford was on fire. Cooper Kupp, one-handed touchdowns. Nakua, Tutu Atwell had some clutch fourth down receptions. If you love defense, don't rewatch the highlights on that game. There was just no defense. Our team got torched. We torched their defense. And man, oh man, we made a couple big plays at the end to get that. Wow. That's all I could say about that one. Fantastic. Everyone's feeling good. And then 49ers in the rain. No offense again at all by either team, right? You could say it was great defense, but Matthew Stafford should have had multiple interceptions that got dropped. We lucked out. But at the end of the day, Kyron Williams and them, they bulldozed through the 49ers defense. And then our defense made some incredible stops. A huge interception by Darius Williams at the end of the game, pretty much, where, we just did enough to win. And then we said, okay, we're done with bad weather games. Then we go to the coldest game in McVay's tenure as a coach, where everyone's freezing. It's the first time I've seen McVay wear anything on top of his head. Hat, beanie, ski mask, whatever you want to call it. Ever. That's how freaking cold it was. Usually that man's like, no matter what the rain, weather, I'm wearing my do up, and it's just how it is. But nope, it was so damn cold he had to put a beanie on. That just shows you something there, Rams Nation. And another bad weather game where both teams' offenses suck. And then we eventually made a couple big plays. Tyler Higbee's returned to the field. He has a touchdown. Everyone's so excited for that. Then, defense makes some big plays. Luckily, Aaron Rodgers and co. just cannot get it done. They get too aggressive going for it on fourth down way too many times where they probably could have kicked like 3 or 4 field goals to have a big lead on us earlier in those games. But got it done. Everyone was happy to get the hell out of there. Then the Cardinals game on Saturday night for the world to see. Everyone was like, what is going on with this offense? It is, again, another just, not fun to watch. Schemes, meh. Matthew Stafford and the receivers don't see him on point. Run lanes are not opening up. And it's like, are you kidding me? Are we really going to screw this up and not get in the tournament because we lost to Arizona at home with everyone healthy? Not like that week 2 matchup when everyone's banged up or suspended. And it was like, oh my God. Then Ahkello Witherspoon saves our season pretty much. Gets that crazy tip drill interception after, Kyler Murray had to throw it as fast as he could to Trey McBride, where we zero blitzed on him. What a ballsy call by Chris Shula. And we're all like, oh my God, the fans, all the players on the sideline, coaches, us at home watching if you weren't there. I can't believe we got away with that. We should have lost that, but luckily we made more plays than them, and we got away with it. And then the final game after, shout out to Jaden Daniels, another Rookie of the Year candidate, beat the Atlanta Falcons. So we're like, oh, we're in the tournament. Don't need to play everybody in that final game, which is why I was happy to see Jordan Whittington ball out against the starters of the Seahawks. Hey, Jimmy Garoppolo looked like a starting quarterback again as he threw some nice passes. Tyler Higbee had a touchdown. He had that bomb to Jordan Whittington. He had some other good stuff. And there's some other throws that were kind of meh, of course. But I thought for a backup unit, technically on the O-line, quarterback, receivers, running back, for them to put up, good numbers, have a chance to win it in the red zone late against the entire Seahawks starting unit, offense and defense, it's a loss, but I got to give that performance an A2. And ironically, with Coach Mike LaFleur calling plays, I thought that was the best play calling day of the entire season, which is crazy. You saw tight end screens. You saw running back screens. You saw Jordan Whittington be used in multiple ways. You saw jet sweeps again. I was like, this is what we have been missing from the offense the entire year. And so I was happy to see all that with, again, backups. That just shows you play calling matters, Rams Nation. If backups can look this good and be productive with multiple formations, different play calling screens, etc., why can't the starters do it? That was my argument after that game. And we saw a little bit of that go into the playoff round. But again, I give that an A for sure. A much-needed stretch. Clutch moments by the defense throughout that entire run, other than the Bills game. But holy crap, Rams Nation. I was, what a wild ride that was.
It really was. It really was a very, very entertaining season, if nothing else, that's for sure. Times of really depressing offense, but other times where the defense and the offense really showed up. It was a fun season.
It was. But yes, Rams Nation, we know about the playoff grades. I mean, we lost in the second round. Not great. We know. Should have beat the Eagles. Probably should be hosting Lombardi. Should be, planning a Super Bowl parade this upcoming week, or should have had it. I get all that. But the overall season, what a fun ride. A lot of times I was pissed off, with just how things unfolded. But draft class, performance by that draft class, the way things unfolded, gosh, it was a fun ride. We didn't suck. I think that's the most thing. Other fan bases suffer all the time, right? Could you be a Bears fan right now where you thought we have our savior at quarterback and everything goes to hell? Could you be a Carolina Panthers fan, which the end of the season ended up being a little bit better, but majority of the year you were just sad and depressed. And we can go through other fan base. Could you be a Browns fan right now where you thought everything's fine, the roster's good, and everything go to crap because of a quarterback decision that should have never been made? We could have been in a worse spot. As long as the team has a chance to get into the tournament and make noise, I think that's, a great thing, no matter who's on your roster, no matter who your coach is or your coaches are, ownership, et cetera, et cetera. So with that said, I think it was a successful season, as got to get in that damn tournament, and we did enough for sure. But I think it's important, some of the highlights. Now, we talked a bunch of highlights and all that, but who were some of the standout players in that? Who are the offensive studs? Kyron Williams, who I know a majority of our fan base was not happy about with how it ended, and I get it. He had almost 1,300 rushing yards, 14 total touchdowns. He was one of the only guys doing anything on offense for most parts of this entire season. And, the flip side of that coin is that he did cost us multiple games too with his, unfortunate fumbles and errors. I get all that. But he was a stud. He was the reason why we won a ton of games at all. So, those will be discussions we have going forward of, how can he continue to improve. Wide receiver Puka Nacua only played 11 games, almost had 1,000 yards. Oh, it would have been nice to see him get one catch in week 18 and then get yanked out. That would have been nice. But, McVay's like, hey, if you're not going for history, you're not playing. As in previous years, Stafford was like 50 yards away from, a 4,000-yard season. He didn't play. So, unless you're breaking records, they don't give a shit about any of that stuff. I get it. So, still balled out. O-line, Kevin Dotson had a great year overall. I know that last playoff game, there's some bad moments in there. Alaric Jackson quietly had a Pro Bowl level season, in my opinion, was fantastic. And then Matthew Stafford finished the whole entire year, 29 touchdowns, 8 interceptions, almost 4,000 yards passing. Dude's still a top 5 quarterback, Rams Nation. We'll get more into detail about our situation with him and other things. But offensively, we have a good group, I feel. Mark, your thoughts on the offensive studs this past season?
Yeah, and as far as Alaric Jackson, we are going to talk about free agents here in a few minutes and his potential future, and the wide receiver group. Demarcus Robinson, just kept on scoring touchdowns for us, right? With not getting as many touches as you would hope, but he was very impactful, and just a solid performance by the offensive line. And I want to see more Blake Corum. Be really interested to see what goes on with him next year. But over in the tight ends, Tyler Higbee made an impact late in the year, but it was really about Puka and Kyron as far as offensive production. Matthew Stafford, of course, but yeah, no complaints about the offensive line. Absolutely stellar job pretty much the entire year.
Yeah, it's
that one play, that last play in Philadelphia, we could have blocked that better, but those last 2 plays. But that's a good defensive line they're going up again. I got to give them some credit.
Rams Nation, I lose sleep over that every couple.
I'm sorry, I shouldn't have brought it up. I apologize.
No, it's hey man, you either make the plays or you don't, and in those final moments, whether it was schematics, whether the players, whatever it was, I mean, we just didn't make the plays, the blocks, whatever. And you don't do those things, you don't deserve to win, you don't deserve to advance. And we can do these what if stuff all the time, which I continue to play in my head these last weeks or so. But it is what it is. and it's unfortunate, but hopefully in future years to come, all our players can hopefully learn from it. But I think overall, some great studs there. I freaking agree. But I think we move on here. Who are the defensive studs? And how could you not start with the defensive rookie of the year? Outside linebacker Jared Verse, who again, like we pointed out, had some really rough moments in those first, 4 games of the season, really the first half of the season until things really started to kick on. I think really from that Vikings game going forward, as tons of missed tackles, tons of missed responsibilities, tons of losing containment, him trying to bite in or trying to be like, I'm more powerful than you, I'm going to cut around here, and yada, yada, yada. But overall, dude was a baller. Dude should be an all-pro next season, should be in defensive player of the year contention, in my opinion. I tip my cat to you, number 8. What a good number choice for him. That ended up working out. And then I think just really the whole D line, right? Braden Fisk, almost half a sack away from tying Kobe Turner, Aaron Donald's all-time rookie sack record. Byron Young developed so much further into his run game, his containment, his drop into coverage, so much better. Kobe Turner took another step forward in his run game, discipline. Definitely took more responsibility of like, hey, teams are going to double team me. How can I still battle and win and get pressure? I think he definitely improved from that from last season. And then honestly, I'll shout out to Omar and Christian Roseboom, as I still am puzzled by the Ernest Jones trade, but Omar, when he got his shot after Troy Weeder got hurt, unfortunately just for him personally, that sucks for him. Omar stepped up. Roseboom played better when that duo was together. And shout out to them too. And then shout out to all the young secondary guys who had some really bad moments. But I think overall, all the studs are on that D-line, Mark.
Yeah, I feel bad not including Quentin Lake here. He's one of my favorite players. But there's a lot of guys on this defense that kind of fly under the radar a little bit and then make big plays once in a while. Cam Kitchens, Cam Curl, Jalen McCullough, Christian Roseboom, they all had their moments. I think the defense, I have a hard time figuring out this defense because there were times where we just looked, there were a handful of plays, shall I say, where we just, got our socks blown off. And that really hurt. It makes it difficult to evaluate this defense. Overall, you feel like it's a good defense, and then the Barkleys and the Marvin Harrisons and the Juwan Jennings just roast us. So, but Quentin Lake is a guy that we probably need to celebrate as well. And I think a lot of people understand and recognize the impact Braden Fisk had and Jared Verse, but I think sometimes it's led us to maybe not give as much credit to Kobe Turner as he deserves. I think he had a really solid year too, and just a really good future for this defense. I feel like, it seems like a lot, but if you add a dynamic linebacker, a cornerback, and keep a run stuffing defense nose tackle on this team, it could be really be elite playing together one more year.
Oh yeah, I mean, it's just so exciting to see that the young group, man, has really, really emerged as a top unit, and we still think they can get a lot better, which is, I mean, that's great news, Rams Nation. If you're buying stock in any defense, right, who could take the next step to being good to elite? I think from okay to good. I think you have to take it in the Rams from whatever your benchmark is from one level to the next. I think they definitely could be a top 5 unit next year. No doubt about it. If this defensive line could be more disciplined, as every, couple weeks or so we saw that improve, I don't see why that group can't lead the league in sacks, pressures, run stoppage. I mean, just all the above, sincerely. Jared Verse, Braden Fisk, Kobe Turner, Byron Young. I mean, that's a group of 4 right there that could really be, right? 2007 Giants-esque, 2011 New York Giants-esque, where really, not that their whole defense wasn't good anyway, but like that group of 4, those years they won the Super Bowl, single-handedly went on to win Lombardi trophies for those cities, or for that city of New York. I think of that, like this group, those 4 guys have the chance to be that level, I feel, over the next 2 seasons, as they're all going to be on their rookie contracts together for another 2 years. I mean, what a fantastic situation. Great drafting. man,
Yeah, and
exciting.
Jeff in Utah is pointing out, and I kind of agree with him. Follow that Philadelphia model, and
I
I've heard
agree.
that others experts have thrown this out here too. Should say not other experts. The experts have said that draft defense and bring in star talent on offense through free agency. That's a formula that can work for the Rams. And if they go out and use their two of their top three picks for another defensive lineman and a cornerback, that I would agree with that. I would agree with that approach.
Yeah, I would agree with that too, for sure. And gosh, what a crazy, just crazy. Just thinking back about all that, and you know what I'm thinking about right now, Rams Nation. I'm thinking about who are the fails this year, right? A lot of positive. Who are players, people, and I think this really gets lumped into, in my opinion, who are the free agents that were
Yeah.
fails. Let's just be honest. There were a handful of free agents that were just awful. Let's just call it what it is. And I'll go down this list as such. And Rams Nation, let us know here if you're in the chat who you would say free agent signing was the worst. And then your grade overall, we'll share that here on the screen as well. So, Boston Scott, the running back, was a free agent signing. Tre'Davious White, the former All-Pro. Jimmy Garoppolo. Cameron Curl, who ended up, starting. Colby Parkinson, who ended up starting. Jonah Jackson, who started 2 games, one week 18, one against the Dolphins. Darius Williams, who played some good football for us all year. Then you had the restricted free agents. You had Alarg Jackson on a cheap deal. You had Ronnie Rivers on an affordable deal. You had Troy Reader on a really cheap deal. Michael Hoyt on a super cheap deal. Excuse me. Tyler Johnson, the wide receiver. Laryl Murchison. Christian Roseboom. I mean, you had Demarcus Robinson coming back, right? And I think all those are, you can say, hey, they returned to the team, but they were free agents. They were part of the free agent class that, you had to allocate money to get them back. So all those guys, and Kevin Dotson, of course, let's not forget him. That was a huge one we were all stressing about majority of the year. Again, one more time, I'll be fast. You got Boston Scott, Tre'Davious White, Jimmy Garoppolo, Cameron Curl, Colby Parkinson, Jonah Jackson, D. Will, Darius Williams, Alarg Jackson, Ronnie Rivers, Troy Reader, Michael Hoyt, Tyler Johnson, Laryl Murchison, Christian Roseboom, Kevin Dotson, and Demarcus Robinson. That's a lot, but overall as a draft grade, what are you going to give that class as a whole, Mark, from people returning and then newcomers altogether, the money that
Well,
was spent?
if you weight it towards the guys that were supposed to be impactful players, you got to give it maybe a C minus. A lot of the guys you mentioned there, contributed about what we'd expect. Jimmy G, it worked out okay. We didn't need him, but what are you going to do? You need a bat. We learned our lesson about not having a talented or at least a somewhat competent backup quarterback. A lot of the other ones were just bad, though. I think, Laurel Murchison was on IR twice. He would have really helped, I think, had he been available all year. Trey White, Darius Williams was a good signing. I think Akilla Witherspoon were too. They weren't, that's why it kind of leads me to why I think we need to draft a cornerback. We need an elite cornerback, in my opinion. Witherspoon and Williams are good, but not great.
Well, you know what? On top of that, I forgot about Kello. That was obviously a little bit later in the year, but
Yeah, right,
add him in there too, Rams Nation. Don't forget about Kello's
right.
contributions late.
Yeah, but Colby Parkinson, non-factor pretty much. And Parkinson and Jonah Jackson were probably the most two disappointing. And those were two guys, when guilty as charged, I was pretty excited about both those signings, as I tend to be optimistic when we bring guys in. And, maybe a bit of a mistake at this point in retrospect. But Dotson was a big deal, though. I think he's one of the better guards in the league. So, not a good grade overall. I think Les Snead is perhaps a better drafter than, I would suspect that Sean McVay weighs in heavily on the free agents, guys that are going to fit. I suspect he wanted Colby Parkinson in the draft and missed out on him. And this is his chance to go get him. things like that. Jonah Jackson, the injury history was there. We should have known. So I probably put more of that on Sean McVay than Les Snead, I suspect. But overall, would I say a C minus? I'd say a C minus.
Fair. Yeah, my grade Rams Nation's a C. Luckily, Alaric Jackson being on a cheap deal was a Pro Bowl level left tackle. Let's be honest. It was great. Michael Hoyt was fantastic. Much, much better in coverage. Just overall as a player, that was fantastic. And then Cameron Curl for really, really cheap as a starting safety. He played some really good football. I thought that was fantastic signing as well. D. Will, Akella Witherspoon for cheaper, affordable deals for corners. Obviously Akella was a veteran minimum. What is he getting? 3 million, maybe. Fantastic. And then Tyler Johnson when he had to play in. I think that's a good depth piece. Roseboom for stupid cheap. Had some really, really good linebacker play. Wasn't great, but for pennies on the dollar, pretty much it feels like for a restricted free agent, fantastic. And then Demarcus Robinson on a vet minimum deal was fantastic as well, as he led the whole team in touchdown catches, right? He had a good stretch of, felt like he scored every time when we would do Rams Nation. Close your eyes and picture in your head. It would be near the goal line. He would do a fake in out route. It would be a speed out route, but he would give that shimmy shake real quick, hard left foot in the ground, and then sprint to the right. Stafford would have a rollout and throw it to him. He scored like 5 times on that, which is really crazy. I mean, teams just, damn, they didn't see that on film every week. And that's the only time we could score in the red zone was a D-Rob out route. So he was clutching that. And then to your point of Jonah Jackson, didn't practice hardly ever the entire year, it feels like. And when he played, he just sucked, right? Much better in the week 7 or the final game of the season, but for him to be the golden diamond of this free agent class, and for him to be benched for Bo Limmer, Bo Limmer was pretty good most of the year, but what a blunder that was. And then Colby Parkinson, who had some moments like, okay, look, he's a tall guy, he's catching, he's running, but just had none of the it factor. Right, let's just be honest. I mean, Seahawks made the right move bailing on him, as a backup tight end, and that's what he is. He's a backup tight end, and we gave him Tyler Higbee level money. What a blunder that's been, and they're gonna have to make a decision on that. Does he stay? Does he get traded away? What's his cap hit like? And if I had to bet money, Colby's gone. Jonah Jackson's a coin flip. I can see him staying because of all the guaranteed money, but who knows? We'll find out. And then Jimmy Garoppolo as your backup. I think that's a good signing. I know. Paul and others have hated that move, but he showed he could play against starters, against a good playoff-ish level team in the Seattle Seahawks. That was good. And then Tre'Davious White, what a blunder that was, right? Banked on him being a good corner, gave him starting, corner money, right? $10+ million. Obviously, he didn't earn anywhere near close to it based on his playing time and other stuff. But what a blunder that was. And then Boston Scott, all that hype of him being the kick returner, punt returner in this new playoff format just didn't work out at all either. So I think the two big payday guys, in conjunction with all the other positive guys on really cheap deals, gives me this letter grade of a C. Luckily, all those cheap deal guys balled out. And the big money guys, their lack of contributions didn't sink and tank the season, which think about all the teams in recent memory, Rams Nation, not just with our organization, but where a big signing screws everything up. I mean, let's just go back a couple of years. The Allen Robinson signing, right? When he was wearing number 1, everyone was so hyped, like, wow, Stafford's going to have a jump ball guy, and we just didn't even deploy him as that. What a failure that was. Another signing, Brandon Cooks, said we paid him big money after training for him. It didn't work out. There's been a lot of offensive big money guys that we've acquired, trade or free agency, that just have not worked out. So McVay and that offensive staff, they got to figure this thing out and hopefully not continue to do this. It feels like every couple of years, the offensive side of free agency, draft, and all that, there's some big blunders every now and then with high capital, draft capital, or high physical dollars. But, oh, yeah. Comment section. Who are your guys' blunders, fails? You got Jeff in Utah saying Jonah Jackson.
Yeah, that's the obvious one.
Jonah,
Yeah.
I vote fail. And then Jeff also says, Witherspoon saved our season. No kidding. I mean, for him to be a tall, skinnier, faster corner, sometimes there's the yin and yang of that, right? Like if you're tall and fast, you're not physical. And I feel like he's a complete package on that. So that's a good positive. Thumbs up
one guy we really haven't talked a lot about, and you mentioned it briefly, is Cameron Curl. How do we feel about that signing? I mean, he was good, right? I mean, do you see him as being our permanent safety moving forward for a couple of years? Did he earn that right to, be our default guy back there?
Yeah, I just think because he's getting paid so cheap, he's not getting veteran minimum money, but I think for what he can bring to the table, I mean, what is he getting? 4 million, 5 million a year? It's really minute for a guy who, let's just be real, he should have and could have signed with other teams for bigger dollars. Just to be honest.
Yeah,
but
that's why I'm really happy with our safety group. If again, no superstars back there, but between him, Kinchins, McCullough, Quentin Lake, he's kind of a hybrid safety, whatever you want to call him. Got a lot of flexibility. So that's one position I think I feel really. You can always improve any position group, but you got to feel pretty good about our safeties right now, I think.
Yeah, it's we're in a good spot. I mean, everyone's young, everyone's not getting paid a gazillion dollars. Now, it's not to say that if there's a player that deserves some big bank, go throw it at him and let's go try to win another championship. I got no problem with that. But to your point about Cameron Curl, the whole unit as a whole, again, we'll see what happens with Akello. He rightfully should be paid Tre'Davious White level money this upcoming season. He should have gone the contract Tre'Davious White got from us. The way he played in 2023 at Akello Witherspoon. I mean, he had a good season in my opinion. Had a fantastic
Yeah,
end of the year
it was really
year.
strange how that all went down with him just kind of hanging out on the free agent market into whatever month that was. And then when the Rams are finally in desperation mode at the cornerback position, they bring him in.
Bring him in. He's our number one corner. So we'll see how that all unfolds, right? I mean, there's all the cap saving scenarios, right? Do they say, okay, we like the way Kobe Durant looked. Do we cut D Will and have Durant be the cheap deal on that outside corner? Do they not bring back Akello again, which I think wouldn't be a smart idea at all? I mean, we'll get into the free agent stuff, but overall, as a secondary unit, Cameron Curl being paid cheap, D Will. Hopefully, Akello is not going to try to break the bank on us, even though you could argue that he might deserve it.
And
Kobe, Kitchens, McCullough, right, as the dime safety, having a lot of interceptions. We're in a good spot.
And I know a lot of people weren't excited about Darion Kendrick, but I still think he could be a contributor to the secondary when he comes back.
Yeah, most definitely. I mean, Jeff in Utah, shout out to your comments here. Safeties on Rams are better than I can ever remember. We had a single good safeties in past, not multiple like now. I agree. We just went through them all. Emmanuel Forbes.
Yeah, you have to go back.
When a vehicle is certified by Volvo, it's much more than a certified pre-owned. It's certified for that road trip you've been meaning to take. Certified for your growing family. Certified for small steps and big leaps. No matter where the road ahead may take you this season, Volvo hopes you enjoy every moment and are confident in the certified by Volvo vehicle you've trusted to take you there. Contact your Volvo retailer today.
I'll throw out there Nolan Cromwell and Dave Elmendorf in 1973.
Yeah.
Something like that.
Even though Cromwell, I know to this day, Rams fans are pained with his dropped INT in that Super Bowl. Probably win that one against the Steelers. Anyway, bad memories. I won't bring it up. But I have his jersey. I say that to say he's a great player. But we'll see. Yeah, Darion Kendrick, Emmanuel Forbes.
Forbes forgot about him.
Travius Tomlinson, right? I mean, he was the one that was an all-league level corner, right? He won the best corner in college football his final year there. So, I mean, hey, we could be in a worse spot. So I agree, Jeff.
Yeah.
We have a good group here for sure. But I think moving on now, after we go through all the free agency of this past year, all the draft, the season in review, the playoff run, and how that ended short, unfortunately, I think the next thing is, who's the QB? Because I'm stressed. I'm sure you are too, Rams Nation. Who's the quarterback? Is it Matthew Stafford, as a majority of us are hoping for? Is Jimmy Garoppolo the bridge based on his nice overall performance in Week 18? Is it Stetson Bennett for all you Georgia fans out there that I see every now and then clamoring for him? Is it Jackson Dart, as you see photos of him in a Rams uniform mocked up on football, news accounts and other people who are clamoring for him to be the next guy?
And before everybody gets spun up, I threw this together and I included Stetson Bennett because, his parents could be watching this, and I didn't want to just totally discount him. He is on the roster. He is a quarterback. The chances he's going to be our starter are pretty slim, I think, but there you have it.
Yeah, I mean, look, we'll start at the least likely. Stetson Bennett. Now, again, to the Bennett family and all this, no, again, everything we say is all football related and nothing to do personally, any of that stuff. He has a lot to improve on, right? The preseason games we've seen from him are just not starting quarterback level in any degree. It's just the truth. Could he be that? Maybe. Could he get there? I hope he does, just for his own professional, aspirations as a quarterback in the NFL. We've seen a lot of good moments from him at the University of Georgia, winning national championships and being a hero down over there in the South. But as of right now, if you said, hey, Rams Nation, he's going to be our starting quarterback, everyone would fall out of their chair, their car, whatever, falling out of thin air, the universe, getting launched into a Rams black hole. I think that would happen if you told a majority of the fan base that was going on as of today. So that is probably the least likely, okay? Now, what is another, I think, least likely? A lot of people are clamoring for Jackson Dart.
Or any rookie quarterback, really.
Or any rookie quarterback. Right. Look, and I know people are like, Shedeur Sanders is the truth. Have you seen Cam Ward at Miami launch it all around? Have you seen Jackson Dart at his Senior Bowl with or even his time at Ole Miss and his short stint at USC, where the USC days were not very great? Where this team is at, to turn the keys over to a young rookie quarterback, I think would be a disservice to this group, who is, again, a couple plays and turnovers away from, my opinion, beating Kansas City in the Super Bowl. I think they beat the Eagles. I think they beat Washington. And I think they beat this version of Kansas City. I do. So turning to a rookie quarterback who has no playing experience with a team that can't compete at a high level, I just think would be a disservice to the fans, to the players on that team, to majority of the coaches who aren't accepting that route. I don't think that's going to be the case, and I don't think that should be the case. So I think that's the next least likely up the totem pole. So that would be more likely than Stetson, but it's still pretty least likely.
Yeah, I still think it's very possible they could draft a quarterback this year, though.
And for sure.
With one of those early picks, too.
Yeah, but to be the guy leading the squad?
Right.
Nah. Now, what I think is the second likely, truthfully, is a veteran quarterback. Now, we have Jimmy Garoppolo here because of what he did and, supported as the backup quarterback this past season. Now, again, going back on that film, was there anything, oh my God, outstanding from Jimmy Garoppolo? No, but again, against starting defensive players on the Seahawks, multiple Pro Bowl level players, with backup O-linemen, with backup receivers, even though I think Jordan Whittington, Tutu, and DeMarcus Lawrence are starting level, along with, obviously, Higbee played too. And then Blake Corum, in my opinion, probably starts for a lot of teams. With a good group, played pretty good. Had a chance to win it in the red zone there at the end of the game. Is that an option? Is Sam Darnold? Is Kirk Cousins, with his former ties with Sean McVay from the Washington days?
Manuel wants a little bit of Will Levis.
I would take it. Let's pull that up, Manuel. What do you got to say here? I would take a chance on Will Levis from Tennessee. Whew.
I can't comment on that because I really haven't seen him play. I know the team has struggled with him at quarterback. That's not necessarily all on the quarterback, though.
Yeah, and he also says Sam Darnold, Kirk are no bueno there. But I think in terms of, let's just say the Stafford thing goes kapoof and everyone's in a coronate, what would they do? The most likely would be, I think they would turn to Jimmy Garoppolo. I know majority of the fan base would hate it. I think because of the money, I think Jimmy would maybe get 15, 20 million max. He would command and would he would take it.
Well, And
working with Sean McVay and all that.
and let's be honest here, Jimmy fits this offense well. I think Jimmy has proven that he can win at the NFL level and be very efficient and very productive. He has some shortcomings, but
Absolutely.
you can win with him. I mean, what's his record against the Rams? You know, he diced us and spliced us many times.
Yeah. And again, it's really about the money, Rams Nation. Sam Darnold's going to command heavy starting level money, right? 40 million plus. The Rams, a Rams going to move on from Stafford and then throw it at Sam Darnold? That would be dumb. Kirk Cousins maybe would be 30 million or so, right? He'll demand maybe 20, 25 the way it's at. I mean, who knows with him, but with him, his depleted arm, it was obvious that, as the season went on, he wore down. The throws are not there, the arm power. I mean, as much as all of us would not like to admit it, Jimmy Garoppolo would be the second most likely option at quarterback in 2025. Let's just be honest. Money is the main factor. And then he had a nice audition game, like we keep saying, in week 18. So not that I'm saying I want that to happen, but I think that's the second most likely. And then what is the most likely? Matt, get Matthew Stafford back in the damn building. Give him the money that is earned, deserved. And let's just rock, right, Mark? Gosh.
Yeah, I think that's what's going to happen as well. But we to make a serious Super Bowl run, to make a true Super Bowl run, we need Matthew Stafford back. There are other solutions where it wouldn't be game over for us. Jimmy G, we'd still be in the hunt, but he's feel a lot better about our chances with Matthew Stafford. And this team has what it takes right now. Add a couple pieces. They're going to be a top 3 or 4 NFC team, I think, with Matthew Stafford. Without him, I'm not so sure. But I will say, how sweet would it be for Jimmy, especially, but for us as well, to go up there and beat the 49ers in Santa Clara with Jimmy G as our quarterback? That'd be kind of cute. That'd be kind of neat.
Yeah, all the alternate timelines we hope to never experience. Maybe other versions of us, if you believe in multiversal theory, the Rams Nation will experience a Jimmy Garoppolo starting quarterback timeline. But Matthew Stafford needs to be the guy. He's a top 5 quarterback. Jeremy Fowler and his ESPN Plus exclusive articles that said, Rams top priority is finding a way to get Matthew Stafford's contract reconfigured as he is the best quarterback option. That's how it should have been from the moment the season ended. As look at Albert Breer and others have reported that the last season contract negotiations got rough. And I know our reporters who report for us on behalf of the fans, right? You can think of everybody, Jordan Rodriguez and others, were told that negotiations were truthful and not tough. And then you got outsiders who are being told, no, it was not good, which I tend to believe it was on the not good side based on how long it went, based on Sean. If everyone remembers, I bring this up every now and then when we talk about it. Sean McVay looked like he had seen the devil when he had showed up to that training camp.
I remember that, yeah.
Press conference where he looked like wide-eyed, stressed, kept just doing the typical, if anyone studies any visual cues of people and how they look, their body moving and all that stuff. I mean, dude looked like he's going through a divorce, right? If you've seen anybody, unfortunately, have to deal with that in their life. And obviously there was no quarterback coach divorce, but it was not good. And now with all the reports coming out, like, hey, last year was not good between Stafford's camp and the organization. I tend to believe that based on that info and what we physically saw from our own coach in that same moment. Hopefully this time around, it will not be that way, as Kelly Stafford has had a bunch of stuff on her podcast, and she's applying pressure to the Rams. And I know a lot of people hate her, don't like her talking about anything. Whatever. Is it annoying in the sense of like it's causing a lot of anxiety for the fan base? I think that's no fun. But if that was your family and all that, you advocate for your Hall of Fame level family member to get paid accordingly to what they do on the field every week. So from our Rams fan perspective, I get the angst of like, hey, please stop making us nervous about what you're saying. But then from the family side perspective, I understand, like, hey, we're going to put the pressure on them. Pay my dude, my guy, whether husband, cousin, brother, sister, dad, uncle, whatever, pay him what is respectable and right at the minimum. So I think it'll be another at least $40 million guaranteed. And I'm down for that every year going forward, as long as Stafford's not being unreasonable, being like, hey, I need 55, 60.
Yeah.
And
I think what might have pushed Kelly over the edge, and I don't have a problem with her at all. I mean, let her speak her piece. That's fine. But it seemed like they were set off a little bit by the whole Cooper Cup thing. And that's just part of the business, and I understand, I'm upset about the Cooper Cup thing, but I also realize, well, we're going to talk about that in a minute here too. But, it has to happen eventually. And it's a bummer for Matthew and Kelly that the Cups might be leaving SoCal, but what are you going to do?
Now, what are you going to do? And again, out of all the options, how could you reasonably, convince our fan base that any of the other options is better than Matthew Stafford returning at $45 million? And you say, hey, we're going to try to win a championship and be legit. You just can't sell me on Garoppolo, Darnold, any other free agent quarterback. You can't sell me on this rookie class. I'm sorry. As of right now, Shador, Cam Ward, Jackson Dart, whoever else, you can't. And then obviously whoever else is on a roster currently as well. You just can't do it.
Yeah. So, what I'm concerned about is, this happening again next year. Or I think Stafford's got 1 or 2 years left. So I really do want to see the Rams add a young quarterback, because I don't know if there's any potential free agents, that we can bring in like we did with Stafford, or trade for one. People have talked about Trevor Lawrence and a couple of other guys, but none of them really excite me. None of them have proven themselves to be the gunslingers and the successful quarterbacks that can put a team on their back and win with, like Matthew Stafford has. So we got to start looking for that next one, and it might be in this year's draft.
No, I get it. So it's like, if Jackson Dart is the backup quarterback, I'm on board with that. Again, not as the main dude. I can't do that. I'm not.
I'm with you.
I'm not on board at all. So, any Rams executive tuning in or having to watch this video, hey, get number 9 back in the damn building, please, and figure out the money, please, for the sake of everyone's jobs and the sake of our fan base. Just let's get it going there. So, Matthew Stafford's the answer. Who's the quarterback? Matthew Stafford should be for at least 2025 at the bare minimum. And I think with that, Rams Nation, what's the other big news that's been going on? And we talked about it some throughout some other videos on the Rams Up Podcast Network here, but I think it's time to have an official farewell to Rams legend Cooper Kupp, as all his contributions to the city, not only as a player that you were excited to see, excited to buy his jersey, excited to pay good money to see him play, whether it was at the Coliseum, at SoFi Stadium, and wherever else on planet Earth that Rams games were happening. He was an awesome LA native, LA neighbor, and a Ram. And farewell to you, Cooper Kupp, as he finishes with 634 catches, 7,776 receiving yards, and 57 touchdowns, as all his stats are in the top 5 of Rams records. And in my opinion, he would be on the Mount Rushmore of Rams receivers, up there with Torrey Holt, Isaac Bruce. And I think that, Cooper Kupp would be my third receiver in a starting 3 of wide receivers. But your thoughts, Mark, on the sad news that I'm sure, like we said, the Staffords are not happy about either. About
yeah, I'm going to sound like a broken record here, but there's just, he's just another in a long line of wide receivers that play the game right, train, study, work on their craft. Just a stand-up human being as well. What is not to like about Cooper Kupp? If he was the 4th string wide receiver, I'd probably love this guy, right? And then he happens to be a Triple Crown winner. The iconic catches that he has made for this franchise over the last few years in the Super Bowl against the Bengals, the big pass against the Bucks, that the one catch that probably my favorite play of Cooper Kupp's was the one in the NFC Championship game against the 49ers, where he caught that, I don't know what you call it, a slant pattern for 20, 30 yards. And he just got up. I've never seen him so excited and so emotional because he knew he had just put a dagger in the 49ers' heart and we were going to win that game. And just great memories. And it's going to be, it's probably not going to set in until we see him on a Sunday next season in another team's uniform. And it's going to suck. It's really going to suck. But it has to be that way. You know, we all saw this coming. It was quite a bummer to see his contributions deteriorate over the course of the season. And you got to move on. But at the same time, we can recognize him for what he is, just a fantastic person and player that, you know, if you're not a Cooper Kupp fan, you should be. He's just an easy guy to like and a great player.
Yeah, it just sucks. Like we talked about, you know, in previous, I think, you know, videos and throughout the season, that at the end of the day, the Rams are savages. They just are. And no matter who you are and what your status is, if the money and the performance and play on the field are not matching, they will move on from you. And we talked about it in previous, you know, videos and stuff. I mean, whether you're Jared Goff, who just got paid, Brandon Cooks, who had just gotten paid, Jalen Ramsey, who had been, you know, barely been paid, Bobby Wagner, Leonard Floyd, Robert Woods, Aqib Talib, Marcus Peters, Michael Brockers, Jared Goff. Gosh, we can think of tons of other guys I'm forgetting about, but this team will move on from it. Ernest Jones this last year. I mean, we can go. I mean, I'm sure there's plenty of players.
Cam Akers.
Cam Akers. Obviously that was a little bit different, but like
Yeah.
they'll bail from you. And I mean, Cam Akers was a part of that as well. They'll bail from you, and no one is safe. That's why I know we're all kind of stressed about Matthew Stafford's situation. But I think, you know, as long as the money and the production match up, then there's nothing to fear. But Cooper Kupp, unfortunately, is a part of that next wave of players for the Rams that, unfortunately, are hey, the production and the money are no longer matching. See you later, dude. And it's unfortunate. Like, it sucks. But like we talked about with the film and all that, that's just how it's going to unfold, man. Like, Jordan Whittington needs to play more than him. Others, you know, deserve more opportunity to, and it sucks. But this is the only way that you can no longer get caught in the loop of going too long with a player. This is the New England Patriots way of doing things, which is why they were winning so many freaking games my entire life of watching football, it feels like. And the Rams have been copying that since McVay and Les Snead have been teamed up. Let's just be honest. That's how they do business, and it'll continue to be that way as long as those two are leading the way in front office and coaching and play calling on the field. So crappy,
Yeah.
but it's bound to happen. But I think on a happy note, and I shared this in the breaking news episode, you know, shout out to me and Cooper Kupp back in the 2018 training camp as I met him. Great dude. Talked about not just football, but a lot of other fun stuff about LA and his time there. And I'm going to get that professionally printed, hanging up with the jersey that I have. And Cooper Kupp's the dude.
How long ago was that picture taken?
This was the 2018 training camp. So this is his going into his second season after he had a good rookie year, and then unfortunately that was a little bit. That same season where he tore his ACL and we went to the Super Bowl. But
I think it was the last time he shaved.
Hey, well, you know, I have the strong mustache genetics in my
Oh,
family.
not you,
So,
Cooper. I mean,
me and him both. Look at it. We both are bearded dudes now. Beard, maybe one day my cheeks don't grow in as well. But we're both we're less hair back then.
Yeah, and hopefully, I think the Rams are going to have trouble finding a trading partner for him. They're going to probably end up releasing him, which is going to suck on another level because then where does he end up? I'd love for them to trade him to the Broncos or the Steelers, something like that, or even the Chargers. That probably wouldn't be that ideal. I don't want to see him playing for the Chargers, actually, but
Yeah.
don't want to see him in the NFC West or the NFC, preferably. But if they release him, who knows?
Yeah, and then Jeff in Utah says Rams hand out contracts they can't keep, which seems to be the case. But Cup gone because he has 2 years left, right? Yes, a lot of it's not guaranteed, but the cap hits and all that are just so massive. And just, paying him big money to be your third best wide receiver maybe is just bad business. Um, yeah, Michael says Ian ditched high school to get this picture. No, I was out of high school by then.
Is that
So,
is that Irvine?
this is at UC Irvine when they were having training
Right.
camp out there. So that was cool, and that's I'll share a quick story with that. Those are the early days where training camp was not completely slammed at the very beginning. Eventually, throughout the day, it got pretty packed, but that was early when players were coming out just doing warm up stuff, and I was shouting at some players, "Hey, Cooper Cup, what's up? What's up?" Not trying to be like, hey, if I can get lucky and talk with them. I wasn't like, hey, come here, come here, come here. It was more just like, yo, what's up? And if they came over, I'd be like, hell yeah. But luckily Cooper came over. And I also talked to Michael Brockers and John Johnson as well. I had pictures with them. But good day. Good day. No, it was summer. No high school was ditched. Even though if I was, I probably would have missed as well. So you're not wrong there, Michael. But Cooper Cup, man, I'll miss him, and he'll forever be a Rams legend. There's just no doubt about it. He should be on everyone's Mount Rushmore of Rams receivers easily. And
Yeah, and that's a tough Mount Rushmore because I agree with you in the top three. And then you got Henry Ellard, Tom Fears, Elroy Crazy Legs Hirsch. Yeah, it's a tough crowd.
A lot of the OGs. So I think, I guess make it easier. Would he be in your starting 3 and 11 personnel? Absolutely. Give me prime Cooper Cup, which is Triple Crown MVP of the Super Bowl Cup. And then give me Hall of Fame level Torrey Holt and Isaac Bruce, greatest show on turf prime. I mean, that's an unstoppable group of 3 right there. And I think that could, smoke any defense in NFL history if all those 3 are in
So who do you want calling the plays? Sean McVay or Mike Martz?
No. Let's give me Sean McVay. Mike Martz had a season or 2 where it was fun, but I don't want him, being ill trying to call in plays on the phone like he was in that one 2003 season that was, whatever that was. Things got really bad with them for many reasons, but Sean McVay, he makes me mad sometimes with play calling, but I've seen him hit highs way more than Mike Martz has consistently. So, hey, good.
Fair enough.
Times. But, Jeff in Utah says, Flipper was good. Yes, he was.
Yeah.
Yes, he freaking was. So farewell to you, Cooper Cup. Hopefully we get a Super Bowl statue out there in SoFi. I think he deserves it. The one over Eli Apple. I think that'd be a worthy one.
Do you think he has a shot? Well, obviously he has a shot at the Hall of Fame, but it may depend on what he does from here on. Do you think he has more work to do?
Absolutely.
To get that Triple Crown and Super Bowl winning catch? Those are pretty good check marks. If you're trying to get into the Hall, but maybe too short of a career, though.
Yeah, it's too short. And I'm definitely a lot more, not harsh, but I'm a little more demanding of Hall of Fame. I feel like I agree with what Deion Sanders said when he was on NFL Network. It's like, hey, this is the Hall of Fame, not the just Hall of Good. Like, and obviously he's coming from a harsher field, but even the people that make that analogy of like, hey, there's the upper room, quote unquote, of the Hall of Fame, and then there's everyone else. I mean, I feel like if you're not an upper room level guy, you really shouldn't be a Hall of Famer. And you can make that case about Stafford. I get it. I've said he's Hall of Fame level. I think 2 Super Bowls gets him in. I think 1, maybe not, and then obviously that's our own guy. But I think as of right now, you can't say Cooper Kupp's a Hall of Famer. Too much injuries in that's derailed seasons for him. He hasn't broken 10,000 total receiving yards. I think that has to just be a minimum. And some other stuff has to go his way too, right? A couple more championships where he's like a big proponent in them. Then you can say, all right, but
I think a year ago we felt like he was on the road, not for sure, but well on the road to the Hall of Fame. But this past year and a half, not so much.
Yeah, I think Julian Edelman's like a Patriots, like a Patriots legend. But I think he's a Hall of Famer.
No,
maybe, but I mean, because he was so clutch in a lot of playoff games, you can make that argument. I get it. I think if Cooper had those opportunities where it's multiple playoff appearances of him kicking ass in those games, then you can argue that. But I think you can't argue that Cup's a Hall of Fame.
Yeah, and that's what keeps guys like Steven Jackson out of the Hall of Fame, because he never had those opportunities.
Yeah,
No
it
fault
sucks.
of his own, you know?
Yeah, I agree. So we'll see. Hopefully he has a good career, and I hope he continues to play well. Just for as a fan of Cup, fan of him as a human, what he's done for the LA community and everything else. I hope so. I hope so. Even though, a part of me selfishly is like, I hope he doesn't kick ass on their team, because then we look a little more stupid. All my takes and the Rams itself. But oh well, it's just being
Selfish.
the greedy selfishness. Yeah, as Michael says, Cooper Cup was a thoroughbred horse. That's why he's a Triple Crown winner. Yep, I agree. Good years with Cooper Cup. But Rams Nation, I think it's time for us to quickly move into the free agents and free agency of this upcoming Rams season. Gosh, it's right around the corner. It's that time of the year, Rams Nation. I mean, speaking of great free agents, Robert Woods was a great one there in that graphic we had just displayed. Gosh, I'm excited about this. This is where every fan base gets, happy about signings, right? We're happy about Jonah, it didn't work out. Happy about Colby and the possibilities of that. Tre'Davious White, everyone has hope. And you say, hey, that makes sense for this, and this. Oh, that makes sense for A, B, C, D, E, F, G. And it's time for us to, look into that as well as 2025 free agents. Boom. It is here. As we'll look at some of them right here, as Alaric Jackson, again, back, hopefully, no longer going to be on the restricted cheap money like we talked about earlier. Demarcus Robinson will for sure not be back on some super cheap deal, I feel. Bobby Brown, who didn't start too well, played significantly better the second half of the season. Christian Roseboom no longer will be on that super cheap restricted free agent deal. Michael Hoyt the same, will no longer be on that cheap deal. Jimmy Garoppolo, I assume you probably could get, and there's other guys like Kello and others
right.
that
Note boom, tutu. Right. What I tried to do here is I think these are the ones that are probably we're most interested in retaining, I think.
Yeah. So I guess we'll start at the top, man. And, so this is how we'll do it, Rams Nation. If we agree to say, pay him, you'll hear a money sign. If you hear us say, don't pay him, you'll hear another sound effect instead. So I'll start with you, Mark. Pay him or do not pay Alaric Jackson?
Do you want some commentary or just an answer?
Answer and then commentary. Let's do it.
Pay him, although I have read across the World Wide Web, and everything you read on the web is true, right? And some folks saying that a lot of general managers aren't too excited about his play, while others are. So there's a split opinion on him on whether he should be paid, but I think the Rams should pay him.
Yeah, I pay the man. Please play Alaric Jackson. I can't believe that we got him so cheap on the restricted free agency. And another, undrafted dude who became a pivotal piece in winning games throughout his entire, tenure. And look, he's going to demand serious money, and I think he deserves that. He has played phenomenal, every time he's been in the starting lineup. Has there been some games you're like, it wasn't so great? Sure, but he's a starting left tackle, and he is a Pro Bowl level starting left tackle, in my opinion. Is it Andrew Whitworth Hall of Fame? Is it Trent Williams Hall of Fame? Is it, Jordan and Lane Johnson from the Eagles level Hall of Fame? No, that's hard to come by. But when you have a good left tackle who keeps your quarterback clean, run blocks well, is athletic, tall, lengthy, long, whatever descriptive words you want to say for a lineman, you got to pay that freaking guy. So hopefully we see him back along with others, but he's got to be a part of that top priority of players you have to bring back, I feel. But I guess next on the list, who's someone who caught the most touchdowns for the Rams this past season, Demarcus Robinson. Mark, pay him or not? Hold on, I think you're muted there, my friend.
I'm sorry. I'm going to say pay DeMarcus with the understanding we're not going to pay Tutu. And I still want a wide receiver, if not two wide receivers in the draft. Right now we got Puka, Xavier, and Jordan, and that is it. So we retain DeMarcus. I think he can establish himself as the number 2 wide receiver. Jordan Whittington, the number 3. Flip them if you want. Bring in a rookie, and that unit will rebound and we'll be good to go.
Okay. I'm gonna give 2 different answers for 2 different reasons. I'm gonna say pay DeMarcus Robinson if it is not expensive. If it is another veteran minimum. And if he wants more than the veteran minimum, I'm gonna say we should not pay him. No. Right?
You just wanted to use that. You just wanted to use the other sound ones.
I did want to use it once too, but I think those 2 scenarios are important to talk about, as you see here in the comments. You get Michael saying, "D-Rob, no," and I get it. And also shout out to
I'm a little bit on the fence on him, but
on that. But yeah, I think if he wants another cheap, affordable deal, then I say why not? But it all depends on how the other free agents are. There trades available, right? I know Garrett Wilson is on the minds of Rams fans. I know T. Higgins, everyone's saying, please offer him whatever he needs. And, there's draft guys, which we'll get into as the offseason, unfolds. But I think, again, if the money's right, why not? Why not another veteran minimum? But if he wants more than that, then I say we cannot bring you back, D-Rob. Time for Jay Wood to take that role for sure. As Jeff in Utah says, medium money, which I get. But I think even the medium for me would probably be a little too much, just based on hey, let's get Jay Witt those opportunities, and then, hey, maybe draft somebody and just save those dollars for, hey, maybe another inside linebacker shows up. Maybe trade for somebody and then sign them. Would you rather have that money go on Robinson immediately, and then maybe let's just say T. Higgins becomes available, and you would have wished you had that $5-6 million for him? All these scenarios, I think, would just, hey, not veteran minimum. See you later. Sorry, Mark, go ahead.
Yeah, no, I was just going to say everything's related when you get into free agency. You have to weigh everything. And if it's, if we don't sign DeMarcus Robinson, we're going to have to spend some money on a wide receiver. It's just a matter of, do you want to spend the point you're trying to make, do you want to spend your big money on a wide receiver or a nose tackle or a cornerback? Where's the money going to go? You can't have everything. You're going to have to make some hard choices, but I just see the Rams keeping a DeMarcus Robinson-ish wide receiver in free agency.
Yeah, no, I feel that. But I guess moving on, Rams Nation, defensive tackle Bobby Brown. I'll start with you, Mark. Pay him or do not?
This is a tough one because looking through the mock drafts that I've been doing and other folks, I think there is some serviceable defensive tackles, run-stopping types that you can get in the 4th, 5th, 6th round. Greg Gaines is out there as a free agent. A couple others, Sebastian Joseph Day, maybe not that role. He may not be able to fill that role. My concern with Bobby Brown is he stepped up his game in his contract year, right? And that's what concerns me. So I'm going to say no.
Yeah, I have to agree on this. I say do not pay Bobby Brown, unfortunately. Now, if vet minimum, I'm in. But I think, again, one more time, my initial saying is if he wants legitimate big money, I'm going to have to get no on that. I think Tyler Davis improved when he got his opportunities. Was it perfect? Absolutely not. But I think we can allocate that money to other spots. We saw Gallimore have some big plays in the playoff game. You saw Tyler Davis be out there. I just think there's guys that are on cheaper deals who are playing or have played just as good as Bobby, have stood healthier than Bobby Brown. This is no slight on him. It's just the reality, right? We're just talking pure football, nothing else. I just think you just can't do that if you want super big money. Vet minimum, I'm in. Anything else, no thank you on that. So moving on, Christian Roseboom, who started out slower, has some really bad moments, and played some pretty dang good football towards the end of the year. Was it perfect Pro Bowl level? Absolutely not. Of course, Rams Nation. But I'll start with you, Mark. Do you pay Christian or not?
Well, understanding what I think it's going to take to re-sign him, I would say yes. He's one of those. He's one of those heart and soul guys. And we, are the Rams ever going to improve the linebacker group? And they finally did, and then they trade him away for a 6th or 7th round pick. So, if we're going to roll with just kind of so linebackers, you could do a lot worse than Christian Roseboom. So I bring him back. I don't think it's going to be real expensive, and I like the way he plays. I think he's feisty, plays with a lot of energy, team guy. Yeah, keep Christian Roseboom around.
Yeah, I agree. Pay that dude, and I say pay the dude because I don't think he's going to be demanding a whole lot. I think he's going to get veteran minimum, maybe a little bit more than that, and I think that's fine with me for him the way he played. I mean, you need somebody. Who would you do? Troy Reader again? I mean, no, that's a no for me on that. So I think you just got to bring him back, and I don't think he's going to be demanding a whole lot. So again, if it's the other way around, similar to Bobby, where he's like, I need $10 million a year, then of course, no, thank you. See you later, unfortunately. But I think bring him back because I think he'll also want to be on a cheaper deal. So we move on to Michael Hoyt, who will no longer be on a cheap deal, restricted free agent deal. Mark, pay him or don't?
Well, this is the thing with Michael Hoyt. We have Byron Young, Jared Verse, Brandon Jackson, Nick Hampton coming back, Keir Thomas. I just, I love Michael Hoyt. I love the LA sign that he flashes in big moments. Easy guy to like, big locker room guy, but I just don't know if it makes sense. And I suspect he's going to want to come back really badly. It's going to have to be on a really team-friendly deal. Otherwise, I say no. And it hurts me to say that because he's one of my favorite. He's become one of my favorite players. He really has. Love watching him play.
Yeah, I got to say bring him back. I think the versatility shows. I think for him to play inside linebacker in a lot of those cheetah dime packages or the cheetah packages where we had him, Byron, Verse all together on the field. I think that versatility is huge. I mean, we barely saw Brendan Jackson. We barely saw Kira or any other guys have any impact or any real playing time. I mean, hey, they maybe didn't deserve it or they weren't developed fully yet. And could they be those guys? Sure. But I think Michael Hoyt will be another guy where he's not going to ask for a whole lot at all. And I think that being the case, I think he should be brought back. I think if it's the opposite, just like the other scenarios, hey, I need 10 mil, then forget it. Well, see you on another team, unfortunately. But I think for all the versatility he has, I think he's got to be back for sure. So we move on to a controversial pick and player. Jimmy Garoppolo, Mark. Do you pay him to come back or you're no thanks?
Well, I think we're actually fortunate for two reasons. Matthew Stafford not getting hurt is obviously a good thing. And Jimmy G did not get the opportunity to prove to other teams that, hey, maybe come get me. I'm still a valid NFL starting quarterback. So I don't think he's going to get a bunch of offers. I say bring him back. I think he's a perfect backup it's nice to have a backup quarterback that has some mobility and can extend plays and play off schedule. Jimmy G's not that guy, but he's a guy that can step in and run this offense. So, yeah, I bring him back.
Yeah, I think if it's another veteran minimum deal, I'm in. Anything more like starting-esque level, I'm out for sure. But I think no rookie quarterback in the plans. Garoppolo familiar. He had a nice showing, like we talk about, week 18. I think you got to bring him back, right? You need a quarterback.
Yeah, I'm going to
sink the ship.
I'm going to channel Paul Wallia for 1 second and absolutely don't bring him back. Paul's here in spirit.
I know. I get it. And look, could there be some surprise options that end up working out better than Garoppolo? Sure, but those haven't revealed themselves yet. So I think we won't hypothesize on those just yet. But I think some other big free agents who we don't have listed here, and we'll go through them quickly as well. Tutu Atwell, Mark, do you bring him back, or
Well,
do you let him go?
I let him go, and I don't know why Tutu would want to come back, to be honest with you. And same with well, I'll save my there's 2 or 3 free agents that I think are looking for an opportunity to finally begin their careers. Not getting the opportunities in this offense with Matthew Stafford chucking the ball around.
Yeah, I look at Tutu on a cheap deal. I'm in. Tutu on starting level money, which I mean I don't think you'll have a market for, truthfully. Then I gotta say no thanks. And I agree with your point. Why would he want to come back? I mean, he should have been gotten serious playing time over Cooper Kupp a majority of the season, in my opinion. Just the explosion, the deep threat, all that. When he got opportunities, he either made big catches, right? Deep comebacks, ins, outs, dig routes, the bombs down the field, post, corner, streak, go routes. And then he was really good at the deep comebacks and everything else. And just never got opportunity. And I get it. McVay wants the receivers to be fullbacks, tight ends, screen catchers, running back part-time. I mean, he wants his receivers to be the ultimate football player, which it works when you got that guy, a prime Kupp, a prime Robert Woods, a prime Puka Nacua that we're seeing right now, or you can argue maybe he's not even his prime yet, which is scary for other teams. But if you're not that, then you're not going to see the field much, which I think is a disservice as the Tutu Atwell player, the pick. It was a failure. I don't even think because of him. I just think McVay and the offensive staff just didn't deploy him enough and properly, and I think that sucks. And I don't think he would want to be back, to your point there, just for all those reasons. So he wants to be back on a good deal. I'm in. He wants big money. I don't think we should bring him back just because, are we even going to use him? That's my opinion on that. As you see here, Jeff says, yep, Tutu on cheap. He was getting open. I agree, as Michael says as well. McVay didn't use Tutu very well, as you agree. We elaborated right there. Mark did as well, and it's unfortunate. It's unfortunate. I think he could have really been a hell of a player with us over time. But, oh well, in an alternate timeline, Tutu becomes a Pro Bowl with us, a Pro Bowl level player. But going down the list right here, John Johnson, a former play caller for the 2020 #1 ranked defense, as he played good football last year for us. He was playing really freaking good in that week 1 game against Detroit. Then, unfortunately for him, he breaks his shoulder, tears some ligaments, and, we never see him again in the starting lineup, even though he was brought back off IR for the playoff run as Cameron Kitchens, McCullough, Curl, Lake, and others supplanted him, as younger, cheaper guys. So, Mark, bring him back, pay him, or don't?
Well, I think it's kind of the opposite situation with John Johnson. I think he's going to go knocking on Chris Shula's door and say, hey, please take me back. I want to play here. And the Rams will hem and haw and see how the draft goes and see how free agency goes. And then if they need a fifth safety, they feel like they need some veteran presence for, maybe something happens, someone goes down with an injury, and they'll give him a deal. I'm kind of indifferent on whether they bring him back or not. If they need him and the money's good and the money's right, and I think it would be because I think John Johnson wants to play here, sure, why not? But I don't really have a strong feeling about it. It'll play itself out.
Sure, yeah. I think bring him back on the vet minimum like he has been, it feels like the last couple seasons, right? 23 this past year, and I think he'll continue to just want to be on that vet minimum. Obviously, as more years of playing goes up, bigger the payday. So I don't know exactly what number that'll be for him off the top of my head, but I think Rams appreciate leadership for a young safety group. You can say Quinn League is no longer a young guy, but I think you can get any advice from a former play caller on a #1 defense like he was back in 2020, and hey, was still playing good football objectively last year. The game he started week 1. I think that's very, very valuable. And if stuff happens to Cameron Curl or Cameron Kitchens or Lake, I mean, you can deploy a guy that can play some good football. So again, cheap veteran minimum deal, I'm in. Anything else bigger than that, I'm definitely out. But I think the next biggest one in terms of the secondary, Akello Witherspoon, Mark, pay him or not?
To me, I obviously would love to have him back. Our secondary is just I don't know, man. I feel like we need to hit cornerback in the draft early, but not knowing what we're going to do there, how the draft plays out. Right now, if you ask me, I'd say, yeah, let's bring him back. But I hope we improve that unit somehow. Um, I think that unit can, the cornerbacks I'm talking about, I'm not satisfied with our cornerbacks at this point. But a killer, you can do a lot worse than a killer Witherspoon.
No, I get it, but you got to pay that man. It's 2 years in a row where he's been our best corner, clear and obvious. And he was a big reason why both teams had any defensive success down the run. You know, last year in 23, he was our best corner, matching up against the team's best wide receivers the majority of the time. Yes, he pulled his groin and wasn't the elite speedster that he usually is, and that was unfortunate. And maybe that's why the Rams said, hey, you're injured. We'll make our money on a former All-Pro like Tre'Davious White. Obviously, that blew up in their face, and then came crawling back to Kello, and was fantastic. I think you have to pay him. What does he want? Give him the exact same deal that Tre'Davious White got, with heavy incentives for playing time, for accolades, stats. I think that's completely fair and warranted for what he's done, not just in 23, but what he did on a pinch in this past season in 2024. I mean, dude was fantastic, and I don't see why that's going to slowly disappear this upcoming year, no matter what team he's on. So, again, Akella Witherspoon, pay that freaking guy. Give him some starting corner level money. Darius Williams, Tre'Davious White level. I have no problem with that. I think he needs it, and we need it, truthfully.
I don't think you have any money left in your cash register, Ian.
Oh, it's cool. Again, I'm only been giving out veteran minimums, right? Other than Akella, all my cha-chings. Okay, Alar Jackson was a big money one so far. I mean, that's fine. We got money left over here. We're good. We're good. And Jeff says, pay a killer for our division play. I mean, no doubt about it. It's important. And then, hey,
I just don't understand what the deal is.
Maybe.
I'm just, people have been asking for DJ Reed of the Jets too, right? I'm just confused what's going on. We've talked about this, is why the Rams are so hesitant to bring in Witherspoon. It's like 2 years in a row, right? Where they bring him in late and he's just, working out in his gym at his house or something, waiting for the phone to ring. So it's just kind of odd that it's played out that way 2 years in a row.
No, it is. And, maybe it's just his quiet personality. Who knows? Who knows what it is? He's been moved on from a lot of different teams for, various reasons, hamstring injury, maybe personality didn't gel. I mean, who knows? Look, he's obviously a very polarizing player, for many reasons, for all those. I don't think he's a bad dude or a bad locker room guy. I don't think that at all. I just think maybe his personality is not like your typical hoorah football guy. He's more reserved, and maybe that's, organizations feel like he doesn't gel for a reason. I think that's a lame excuse, and if that's the Rams' excuse, which seems like the most likely one, if it's not for play on the field, is he an a-hole to his teammates? Never heard anything bad about that. Is he not a studied guy? Clearly he studies, as he plays really good and knows how to defend opposing number one wide receivers more times than not. Does he not understand the scheme? No, he's always in his right spot every time I watch film the last couple of years. And then it has to just be like, does he gel with the organization? That just has to be it in some level, form, or another. Again, I'm not calling him some cancer. I don't think that at all. But again, maybe his quiet personality just leads people to think, like, does he actually want to play football and all that? I'm just trying to think logically why they did not bring him back again, and even last year why they didn't. So pay that freaking dude. And then I think another big contribution guy we'll get into here last is Hunter Long, the tight end that was a part of the big Jalen Ramsey trade. I'm kidding. It was an abysmal trade. Third rounder and him. Do we bring him back, Mark? Do we pay them or not?
Oh, I put him in the Tutu Atwell category, and I've talked about this before. I don't know why he'd want to come back. Higbee's getting up there in years. Colby Parkinson's been disappointing. Davis Allen, another guy that doesn't get deployed as much as we would hope. And Hunter Long, I wish we had found out more about him this year. I don't think we pay him, and I suspect he wants to move on at this point. I would have no problem with them bringing him back, but I don't think it's going to happen.
Yeah, I think they move on from him. I think, Now, if Kobe Parkinson is sent away, then I think they can get Hunter Long on a veteran minimum or
Oh,
something
yeah,
really
true.
cheap, right? And they say, hey, we have Tyler Higbee, and which is probably going to be his final season next year if he isn't traded away or cut, which is very, very possible. Rams Nation, we talk about it. Rams are savages; they'll move on from anybody. So don't be shocked if Higbee gets sent away or cut too. Let's be honest. So if Colby is sent away, which I think would be the right option before Tyler, it would be Tyler, it would be Davis Allen, and Hunter Long. I'm cool with that group of three. They all will play. They all could block. Obviously, Davis needs to improve more, but it's been so much better at the end of this season. So I'm in the camp of veteran minimum, which I think it will be the top he'll get anywhere else anyway. I'll bring him back. Anything more? No, thank you. So I'm in that camp as well. So let's go here to some comments.
Yeah, I don't. Oh, go ahead.
That's a long no by Michael. I get it, but for the veteran minimum, I'm in on him. I definitely am. His blocking is good. It just objectively is good based off, the film. And then Jeff says, again, Kello plays big. Yes, he does. But I get it. There's going to be other corners. I know DJ Reed and there's other guys I'm just blanking on. I understand that, but I feel like, DJ Reed being a smaller guy fits more in a 3-4 Seattle heavy cover 3 scheme. We don't do that hardly ever. We're very much more cover 6, cover 4, quarters coverage. Real quick, everyone, it's cover 6 is half the field looks like cover 4, which is 2 people on one half of the field guarding deep, and then you have 1 person guarding deep on the other, right? So it's like half cover 2, half cover 4. That's who you get the number 6 from. And then cover 4, meaning 4 people are deep. Everyone has like a quarter of the field, which is where you hear these quarters coverage names, cover 6, cover 4. We do a lot of that. We don't do a lot of cover 3. I think scheme fit DJ Reed. Could it work? Good players make it work, sure. But for him being a smaller guy and we don't do those things, I'd rather have a Kello. I'd rather roll out D. Will for his money as is. I'd rather have Kobe Durant. I think they're equally as good as him, if not better, on cheaper deals. So, yeah.
Hey, I wanted to make one comment on, you mentioned the trade, Hunter Long, Jalen Ramsey trade. And I think a part of that is, the Rams they traded Jalen Ramsey where he wanted to go, and they could have got a better deal, I think. They got soaked on that trade, but I think that was partly by design. They wanted to, they take care of their guys going out generally in situations like that. And I think Hunter Long was kind of a throw-in, actually. But yeah, on paper it doesn't look good, but it is what it is.
It is what it is. I know, it's crazy. And then look at Rams Nation. As free agency officially hits, as we get news for what the official situation for Cup will be, what it'll be for Stafford, any other player that may get moved on, or a cap casualty, which you hear every off season or the beginning of the new league season. We'll keep you informed on all those things. And then we'll have an in-depth list of who the Rams should target, what makes sense, what makes, schematic sense, which I kind of gave you a hint about DJ Reed and others. We'll have those things going forward as the weeks unfold, for sure. Don't worry about that. We'll go into more detail on that scenario. But I think with that being addressed, I think it's important to talk about the draft, which is not very far away, Rams Nation. Holy crap. Free agency will happen. We'll have a decision on all these other things. And then it's like, all right, who are we taking in the first round again? What an event it is now, Mark, Rams Nation. We have first round draft picks we'll probably use. But again, for Garrett Wilson, I'll give it that first any day. I don't have a problem with it. That's fine with me if that ends up being a reality.
Has that been talked about? Has that been discussed?
No, it's more of speculation and hope on our side, right? After the Rams Jets game and the freezer bowl, whatever. I'm just making a joke. I know there's an actual freezer bowl in NFL history. Garrett Wilson's like, man, I miss LaFleur, our offensive coordinator. Those are good times in my career. Obviously, that was the Zach Wilson era where there was not many good times, and it was very like, that's very interesting of you to say, Garrett Wilson. And then obviously there's been reports like, hey, the quarterback situation is terrible or there's no real vision, he could request a trade. Obviously, there's still time for him to pull that, trigger and request that. So I think he would welcome coming here, and it would be an AFC team and the Jets sending him away to an NFC team, right? You don't have to face him very often. You would never have to face him in a playoff tournament. I think that would make sense. And we would be willing to pay a young wide receiver who has had 3 straight 1,000-yard receiving seasons with an older Aaron Rodgers who's hard to get along with these days, so they say. Zach Wilson, Mike White, and others. What would you do in a Sean McVay offense with Puka Nacua as his opposite running mate? I think that would turn out pretty well. So all that together leads to a lot of Rams fans, including myself, saying, hey, give up that damn first for Garrett Wilson if he ends up being available, which I think their new head coach and new regime probably won't let him go, even if he demands it, honestly.
Yeah, I would not be surprised. I could see two possible scenarios here with that first round pick. There's more than 2 scenarios, but 2 scenarios worth mentioning. One is they trade back and try to pick up a second round pick, move back. Of course, you always need a trading partner, but if you could move back and pick up a second round pick. But I think they're more likely I don't think they're going to try to maximize the number of picks like they have in past years. I have a feeling, and I would not be surprised if McVay cannot help himself and drafts a tight end in the first round. If someone like Tyler Warren slipped to him, I'm not advocating for that, but I would not be surprised if that happened. And there's some good wide receivers there too, but just throwing that out there.
Yeah, I mean, we'll see how it unfolds. I mean, we got blessed by the football gods that all these teams were so quarterback frenzy this past draft, which led to Jared Verse falling to us at pick 19, which worked out beautifully, right? I mean, what a beautiful, beautiful outcome that was, as he was significantly better than a lot of the guys we liked a lot more, right? I was definitely a Latu guy. I thought it made sense for a gazillion reasons. UCLA connection. Thought his pass rushing ability was fantastic. Not that he wasn't a good player or a decent player for the Colts, but Jared Verse was just objectively so much better than everyone else. Dallas Turner barely played for the Vikings. Chop Robinson, ended up having a nice season. I know Paul was a big fan of him as well. I think you liked him a lot too, Mark. We got blessed. So we'll see how the first round ends up being our case. But I'm not opposed to trading back, in all honesty. As Mark and I think Manuel thinks as well. I think less trades back from 26. I think that's the smart idea. If there's no player they're in love with, right? If things don't unfold like this past year, like a Jared Verse level player falling to them, I have no problem with that. And again, if there's players available in trade, right? Myles Garrett, wouldn't be mad about it. I know the money in other situations could make that complicated, but use it. I don't give a damn. Garrett Wilson, use it. Works for me. But we'll see how that unfolds. I know tight ends and others come up in the discussion as, let's not kid ourselves, Ram Nation. McVay and Snead have tried to trade up in the first round multiple years in a row now. A couple years ago was Dalton Kincaid, who recently had a really bad drop in the AFC Championship game. They really wanted him. Brock Bowers, they really, really wanted. They also had serious interest in Rome Odunze. Zay Flowers of that Kincaid draft a couple years ago, they really had an eye on, and if things fell their way a little closer, they were going to make a leap for Zay Flowers as well. Like, that's a fact, everyone. Like, there's no doubt about it. Zay would have been like that Brandon Cook smaller receiver, like kind of how Garrett Wilson is now, that could run all the routes, be quick, fast. He can be that deep threat as well. So, the Rams have been trying to add pass catchers for multiple years in a row. So we'll see what happens. Could they allocate that first and third round pick to go up and get somebody McVay really wants in the passing game? Maybe. Could they go up and get that tight end from Penn State that everyone seems to be in love with? And, check out Paul and Mark's video not that long ago about the tight ends. There's some good players in that group. We'll see. But here's our draft order so far. Round 1, 1 pick. Round 3, 1 pick as of right now. Round 4, 1 pick. Round 6, we have 3 of them. 1 ourselves, 1 from Atlanta, 1 from Houston or Pittsburgh, depending on how, compensation and other things kind of unfold. But wouldn't be shocked if a lot more get added in, in the near
Yeah,
future based
I
on
just
who signs, right? Who signs to different teams, how that stuff, compensation. I mean, there's a lot of stuff, right, Mark?
yeah, I just realized this is missing the third round comp pick that we will get
Oh, okay.
for the Raheem Morris. So that'll be at the end of the third round. So that third pick I think is 90th overall, and then there will be another third round pick, I think number 100. And that hasn't been awarded yet, but it's pretty much a done deal.
Yeah, no, it's you're right about that. It's good eye there. And I think Michael said that as well. So we'll see how it unfolds. Again, we'll have plenty of draft content, player acquisitions of who should be targeted by the Rams in the first round, the third round. We'll do mock drafts. We'll go through all that fun stuff like we did last year. That's our mock draft last year. It ends up pretty good, right? I think we had Chop Robinson as an edge rusher. I think we had one of the D tackles from Michigan as our second pick. We had Cameron Kitchens as our third. We had a running back as our second. Like, it kind of unfolded, maybe not in the exact order, but in like the same position groups as what actually happened this past real 2024 draft. So that was kind of fun to see, especially the Cam Kitchens one. We were like, hey, that's a great third round pick, and it ended up being the actual one. But tune in for that, Rams Nation, for sure. But with that, who are the Rams' future opponents in 2025? Well, we have them. Now, this is not specific to the week or the prime time or what time of day and all that. That obviously is the schedule release that happens, around, training camp kind of time-ish or so, that kind of dead period, actually a little bit before then. So, of course, Cardinals, Seahawks, 49ers, that'll never change unless the whole NFL realigns divisions. The home and away will be that. But for anyone traveling to games, we got the Atlanta Falcons going to go see our old Super Bowl champion D coordinator Raheem Morris and his squad with Michael Penix leading the way. That's a pretty good group in my opinion. You have the Carolina Panthers with ownership that many of their fans hate, but with Bryce Young, a former LA native who won state championships out here in the Southern California region from modern day. We'll face him. Another rematch in Philadelphia after this last heartbreaker against the Super Bowl champion Eagles. Hopefully that's, not some crazy weather game. That'd be nice to have it on, a game where it's not freezing or snowing. Jacksonville Jaguars with our former offensive coordinator Liam Cohen during the 2022 disaster season. We'll be facing him with, him trying to save Trevor Lawrence's career. Tennessee Titans with Will Levis. And they're kind of rebuilding team, it seems, after, hey, we sent them Ernest Jones. They sent him away. They sent a lot of players away. We'll see where they're at in their development. Do they take Cam Ward or a young quarterback? We'll see what happens with them. And then the Baltimore Ravens, where, got to face an MVP level quarterback, Derrick Henry and others, which is a tough matchup for sure. And then the home games, Rams Nation. Which ones are you going to be able to make out to for all you LA natives or Southern California natives out here? The Saints come back to town. They're in a rebuild, clearly, with Super Bowl champion offensive play caller Kellen Moore leading the charge there now. Is Derek Carr going to be back? Is Cam Jordan going to retire? Is Tyrann Mathieu going to be back? DeMario Davis? What's up with Chris Olave's concussion history? Rashid, Shaheed, yada, yada, yada. We'll see what's up with them. Our old friend Baker Mayfield coming back to town after he had his short Rams resurgence here, as that was a fun primetime game he won for us against the Raiders. What is up with Chris Godwin? Does he end up being a Ram somehow, some way? Do they bring him back after he had a bad dislocation break in his ankle? Hey, they're a playoff team. That should be a tough matchup. And then finally, Detroit Lions make their return here, as the last time they were here was the 2021 season when Jared Goff was in his first season with them, and their team wasn't very good at that point. They'll be here. I expect that to be a primetime game, no doubt about it, here in Los Angeles. That'll be fireworks. Hopefully Stafford is back. He'll get one last shot to get a win against them. And then you have the Houston Texans, C.J. Stroud, Nico Collins being a number one receiver. You have some good players overall with them. They're a playoff team. Obviously, they still got some ways to go, but a lot of injuries derailed their stuff. Is Tank Dell back? Is Stephon Diggs back? But overall, Joe Mixon and crew, they got a good unit. They can win some ball games. That should be a tough matchup. And then we have the Indianapolis Colts. Who the hell is going to be their quarterback? Is it Anthony Richardson, who, taps himself out of ball games, who's hurt a lot? Their coach and everyone in question, Pat McAfee's calling out the organization on a weekly basis that whole end of the year. So, the home stretch, not too bad, right? Obviously, the division games will always be tough because they're division games, but we'll see what's up with the Saints. Got to see how the health and the status of all their veterans, right? I think Bucks will be a tough matchup. I think Lions will be a tough matchup. I think Texans will. They got a good coach, good scheme, and, a good young quarterback. But that home schedule is really not that brutal, Rams Nation. And there should be, realistically, a good home field advantage for all those, obviously, other than the Niner game. But Cardinals, Seahawks, Saints, Bucks, Lions, Texans, Colts. I mean, that should be heavy Rams fans out here for that. I don't think there's an excuse why any of those fan bases other than the Niners should have more than us, right, Mark?
Yeah, I'd agree with you. And it's worth noting this is actually a good year in a wild card race because we are getting two of the weaker divisions, the two southern divisions. But within our division, we are, we're up against it because our unique games are the Ravens, Eagles, and Lions, and that kind of sucks. But hey, we just got to go out and win football games. Overall, it is not a tough schedule having those two southern divisions on our schedule this year.
No, not at all. And, we'll see what happens. I mean, look at the Arizona Cardinals had another choke end of the year. I mean, what's going to happen with them? Who's back there? Seahawks, is Tyler Lockett back? What's up with them? Obviously, McDonald will have another year of drafting guys that fit a 3-4 scheme. And then Niners, everyone's hurting, banged up. Deebo Samuel's on the trade block, right? Just like Al Cup, they're sending him away. What's up with Ayuk? He had another bad injury to his lower leg. Brock Purdy, did they break the bank on him? Is McCaffrey's Achilles and calf gonna give him issues throughout the year? I mean, there's a lot of questions with our division opponents in the West. So I mean, look at health, quarterback, coach. The CQI index says JB Long, voice of the Rams, like to say. Do you have a good head coach? The C, yes, Sean McVay. Do you have a quarterback? We're all assuming Matthew Stafford's going to be back. That's a top 5 quarterback. Yes. And then do you get lucky with injuries, which is what you hope for every year. If that goes your way, you got a shot. So I think all those and the schedule in front of you, Rams Nation, I think it's at minimum should be another 10-win season. I think that's always realistic. I never try to go super boastful of 13 wins and all that. I think get the 10. You should always be in the tournament at 10 unless there's some wild scenarios where everyone's just winning a bunch for whatever reason. But I think you could realistically say this team should win 11 or 12 if things break our way and the young D-line improves. Maybe we get a Godwin. Maybe we get another receiver. Maybe, hopefully Jordan Whittington steps up the way we think. Hopefully Tyler Higbee's around and available the entire year. Maybe more cohesion with the O-line, right? Whether it is Bo Limmer at center or someone else replaces, right? Rob Havenstein doesn't retire. Alaric Jackson's back. We improve and draft and keep adding guys. I think this team should win at least another 10 games minimum, based on all those scenarios, right, Mark?
Yeah, and I'm hoping we get that opening day game in Philly because for two reasons. I think I think they're be a little bit more vulnerable perhaps on opening day, and then of course we get the extra 3 days of rest for week 2.
Yeah, and I think it probably won't be as likely, which could be. But this last season, it was Rams, Lions, Sunday night, right, to start the season. Would they do the Rams a second year in a row? Maybe. I could see that happening. But who was the 2023 opening Sunday night game? We weren't a part of that, were we?
Yeah, I mean the opening Thursday night game against the defending champ.
Yeah. But even then, I'm just thinking, would they have us on a nationally televised big game like that again? I can see that happening. I think they're going to throw Lions, Eagles. They're going to be like, oh, that was a matchup that everyone thought should have happened all year, right? I could see that being the case. I think the Lions play the Philadelphia Eagles out there and out there on their schedule this upcoming year as well. But I think we're a big candidate for that to happen, which screw it. Let's go. Let's be spoiler on banner night. Let's piss off a bunch of Pennsylvanians. I'm not opposed to that. I'm not opposed to that at all. But gosh, crazy. It's so far away again after it just ended. We just went through the whole shebang, Rams Nation. But gosh, it's so exciting being a Rams fan these days. The team is good. We have a great head coach. We have a great organization. They make tough decisions, but they end up always being the right ones. It feels like more times than not. I say 9 out of 10 times, they're always the right decision. We have a fan base that's ever growing. I think this is the most Rams gear I've ever seen on a Super Bowl Sunday in my entire life out here in Los Angeles. Super Bowl Sunday, everyone's wearing Rams gear of one or any team, whatever your team is, football gear. But I saw tons of Rams gear out there, a lot of young kids, which is it's working. If for anyone worried about the growth of Rams football in LA with other teams doing well, win ball games, and the young folk who live in the city are going to lean towards it. It's that simple. Just like any of you who live in your cities outside of LA, and you have your team for baseball or basketball or hockey or whatever else, soccer, whatever other sport, you probably grew up with it, and maybe you're a Rams fan for different reasons, but or family, right? Your mom, your dad, your aunt, your uncle, grandma, grandpa, brother, sister, whatever, and you grow with it. So it's growing. Kids are seeing it. Kids want it. Families want it. Friends and family and whoever who maybe didn't have a team they rooted for because there was no team in Los Angeles, or saying, hey, we're going to support the team that is in our region. I think that's all happening. And again, the most Rams gear I've seen on a Super Bowl Sunday, with the Rams obviously not being in it, in my entire life. And I'm still in my 20s.
Yeah. So. I think kids start paying attention to the NFL and the Super Bowl probably when they're 8, 9, 10 years old.
Yeah.
And all those 8, 9, 10-year-olds over the last 4 or 5 years in the LA area, I think are latching onto this team, a lot of them, and for good reason, because it's been a fun team with a lot of really good, personalities, not just players, but personalities. And it's a good time.
No, it is a good time. And gosh, Rams Nation, shout out to all you guys tuning in today on the live stream, whoever will watch this eventually when you get some time as well, as we're already over the 2-hour mark. Wow, that went by fast.
That's a record for us.
It is. That went by fast too, which is crazy in a good way. And we will not stop cranking out the content for us. Shout out to everyone who watched all of our roundtables, all our keys to victory, our post-game reactions, our pre-game pulses, our Puka Power Picks, our orchestrated Rams film breakdowns, all the nitty-gritty that has gone on this last 2024 campaign. We will not stop in 2025 and beyond. We'll keep cranking. We'll keep supplying you the breaking news, all the analysis you could hope for. And gosh, we very much appreciate everyone tuning in live and tuning in at a later time, supporting me, Mark, Paul, Tom, everyone else that joins in on us when they get a chance here on the Rams Up Podcast Network. But we're so grateful, right, Mark?
Yeah, thanks a lot. I appreciate the turnout, and we will be doing, I'm not sure how often we're going to do these live streams. It's kind of a new thing for us, but it's kind of fun. I think we're going to do it more often, maybe once a month or so. If there's enough to talk about, get everybody on board here, bring in some additional guests maybe on occasion. Yeah, good times. We'll be doing this more often.
Good times. And then shout out, Michael. More live stream. Did a great job, gentlemen. I appreciate that, Michael. 2 hours and 15 minutes. Not bad. Went by pretty damn fast. But again, share this video. Like, subscribe, share all of our content with all your fellow Rams and football fans out there. It helps the algorithm. It helps this channel, any Rams content, spread throughout the YouTube universe. And it really helps, helps our channel just grow and be able to, reach more people and get more Rams fans in tune with anything Rams related, as you all are tuned in currently and have been tuned in for a while. So that'll do it here on this special edition of the Rams Up Roundtable, our 2024 season recap, draft, free agency, the season itself, and then the future. What the hell is going to go on next? But again, we'll keep you all updated as things happen live and in the moment. We'll crank out content for you guys very, very soon. But that'll do it here. I'm Ian. That's Mark. We thank you very much for tuning in. And never forget, baby, go Rams.
That's right. Thanks a lot, everybody. That's going to do it for this episode Remember, you can reach us at ramsuppodcast@gmail.com. And don't forget about our YouTube channel. Our handle is at laramsup.com. Till next time, keep the horns up, stay safe, and have fun out there.